Hello everyone, this is Jamarl Thomas and welcome to the Progressive Soapbox, the Patron Appreciation Special with my wife and I.
That's great. That's awesome timing.
With my wife and I, Mrs.Thomas. This is the show that we do for the patrons. Ultimately, what it boils down to is I appreciate all of you for coming and for assisting the content. Viewing it, but also assisting it from the standpoint of, I guess, patrons, PayPals, of course, because you guys are the ones who keep this content going. So this is the show that we do weekly. I am Jamarl Thomas, the host of this show typically. My wife assists me on the Patron Appreciation Specials. This is Mrs. Thomas.
Aisha.
Or Aisha Thomas. Me too. So let's.
You misuse that all the time, but it's fine.
I misuse it jokingly to some degree. But I take it as this kind of just assertiveness of sorts of, I am not going to be in the shadow and this kind of thing. Is that the way I'm understanding it, right? Well, is that the reason why you don't like Mrs. Thomas?
No, I have a name in addition to that.
That's my point. This kind of assertiveness as a human being. I have a name, asshole. I am not just in a shadow of your wifeness.
Of your wifeness? You mean of your
husbandness? Yeah.
That's great.
That's not where it comes from?
Nope.
Oh, okay. It comes from a different space.
It's just giving people options for what they can call me.
Fair enough. Different options.
I have many different aliases, so I think
that's usually not a positive thing, but
it is what it is.
It's like running from the law. All right, so we have a really good show today. These patron appreciation shows have been awesome. I've enjoyed them. In fact, I've enjoyed them more than the old patron appreciation shows when I used to run by myself. It has, it had somebody else to talk to, and you have some of the people who may say, I don't like him, but I like the energy that she puts out.
I can understand that.
There's very few of those people, but they could say that just in case.
I think there's more. So I'm looking down at my phone just as we're getting started. I didn't have a chance to check my hair in the camera. We started the timer thing this time to give
people a chance to show up.
Yes, to give you an idea of when we were going to actually get started, and it kind of threw it off because usually I get the chance and we get the chance to look at ourselves in the camera.
We go until we're on, until we're ready.
Right.
And then in this case, it was like, all right, that timer.
Camera's on.
right, that timer is coming down. It's counting down.
Yeah. So I'm trying to make sure that everybody is on this live stream, because we had the countdown for 30 minutes and there were 40 people that were watching, and now we've jumped to 25 and we only have one like. So I think that it canceled the other live stream.
It cancels the other live stream. I didn't want...
That sucks.
Well, I didn't want it to be on the other live stream. That means that 30 minutes would have been built into the stream of the other one.
We could have just cut it before you dropped it into Patreon.
We could have cut before it went into Patreon, but anybody else who was joining would have been stuck with it. And, well, we would have had to cut it. I mean, it adds extra work to it as opposed to just killing the other live stream.
Yeah, I feel you. It's just everybody had to make the jump if they were watching.
It doesn't automatically flip forward.
I don't know, because we lost people and that other one had likes on it. If you're watching and you're give it a thumbs up because we missed your likes.
Please like the video if you enjoy it. I always say if you enjoy the content, please like, share, and subscribe. But if you are just jumping to this and you enjoy this so far, please like it. Also, how could anybody like the other live stream? There wasn't anything on the live stream. What were they liking?
They liked something.
But that was dishonest.
Maybe they liked the fact that we had a timer. I appreciate
when people come onto the show and nothing takes place, it's just the timer, and they say, we don't like this timer, goddammit, we like it. For an expectation of what is to come. I appreciate that. But I only really want you to like the video if you like the video.
You don't know why they liked it.
It was a timer.
They might have been like, oh, that's a snazzy green.
Okay, but that has nothing to do with us.
Okay.
Well, it becomes us the moment that we're on and they like it.
They could have liked that we were on the way.
That's not the same.
Anyways,
that's not the same thing.
I'm going to try to, somebody said they didn't miss anything. No, we're just getting started. Patron appreciation. Jamal did the spiel. I think I do the spiel a little better.
Go for it.
Okay, so this is the weekly patron appreciation show for the Progressive Soapbox, hosted by Jamarl Thomas. Once a week, we take the topics that patrons suggest through Patreon and devote a show specifically to talking about what they want to hear about. So if you are a patron, thank you. If you are contributing somewhere else via PayPal, Super Chat, Streamlabs, whatever it may be, thank you. If you would like to submit topics for patron appreciation through those programs, software, whatever,
services,
through those
providers,
means, then make sure to include your topic there, and we will drop it in to the show's lineup, or we will take a look at it to consider for the show's lineup.
If you're donating via PayPal, you can send it just as an email.
Right. So anybody that's contributing, make sure to give your topics. So because this is a patron appreciation or a contributor appreciation, after the live stream, the video will be taken down and it will be available only to patrons. So if you're a patron, make sure that you log in and check out the video. They're available maybe an hour or two after the weekly stream. So if you missed anything, you can always go back and check out the full stream. Of course, I'm looking down because I'm trying to check the comments and see. Oh, I want to know, when I logged into the show today, just before we get started, give some people time to log on. When I logged in, because I watch the stream on my phone so that I can check the chat with you guys and make sure that we're streaming okay. When I logged in, I had a free super chat that YouTube gave me. It was $1, and it said that I had 2 free for the month, I think, and it let me give $1, and it was like a freebie to support your contributors. Mm-hmm. Does anybody else have that?
What's his name? I think Bob Ramirez told me about that yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, where he was saying that he had a free super chat, but I didn't know what he meant. Like, when he said that, I was like, "Oh, what?"
Somebody said Aisha looks like she belongs on MSNBC. I don't know how I feel about that. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's not a good thing. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing.
Garden Gnome, it looked like he responded and said she knows how to present herself to the camera. So that's good.
That's a good thing.
I should be on MSNBC. I don't know how I feel about that. But okay. So, Garden Gnome said, "How did I get that?" I have no idea. I just logged in, and when I clicked on the super chat button, it said 2 free ones. So if you guys have that, let me know. When I tried to use the super chat, though, it didn't let me put in any text. It just let me put the $1 super chat. So if, of course, we read super chats out aloud. What's going on with his hair right here? Do you see that? Sorry. We read super chats out loud. So if you have a question or a topic that you want to make sure gets read aloud, you can always use super chat or Streamlabs, and we check those and read those aloud during the show. If you try to do it with the $1 freebie and it doesn't work, I'll see the $1 freebie and we'll still read it out loud. So just put your comment right after that or something. But yeah, Garden Gnome says if I get the free ones, I'll send them. A couple months ago, YouTube says I gave $2 to Jimmy Dore, but I never spent my money on here. So I don't know, but we are about to get started. We have a few good topics for today.
I hate their old YouTube is changing their system. God, I hate it.
Do you want me to start on the topics and just tell them what topics we're going to discuss today while you're doing whatever you're doing?
Well, wait a minute. There's something
funky going on.
Well, there's not something funky going on. There's something
What's happening?
Mind blowing. So
mind blowing.
Yeah, take a look at this for a moment.
What
do you see here? Hold on, that's interesting. All right, this is the current show. This is what we have so far. Now, take a look at this part, though. What do you see here that's somewhat different than normal?
Why do you have 2 video sections?
No, that's normal. No, that's normal.
You know, I don't usually look at this, so I don't know. Just tell me, because we're live streaming.
Well, I'm going to show it. This is an official announcement. All right.
What are we looking at?
Take a look at this.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wow. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, I think I get it.
We've hit 20,000.
I think that's what I'm looking at. I think I just saw it. Like, when I looked here.
We've hit 20,000.
I saw it. Yay! We need, like,
we officially
applause sounds.
Hit 20,000. It's like, yeah.
20,029. I was like, what the hell am I looking at?
Well, yesterday it wasn't that way. I mean, this was something that was recent. Like, overnight while I slept.
30 people joined the crew.
No, it was more than 30 people. It was several hundred people. It was like 200 and something less.
Well, if you're a new subscriber,
thank you. And welcome to the Soapbox.
To the Progressive Soapbox.
I don't know when that happened, and I don't know what video that happened on. Oh, I know.
Who brought it? What video
This
brought
video,
it?
Rachel Maddow. The Rachel Maddow video has 18,000 views, which means that there was a bunch of people overnight.
They saw that video and they were like,
saw that
I gotta
video
get
and
in
signed
on this.
on. Welcome to the Soapbox family.
Laura, Indiana. She says, I really did. I told people on Twitter about you. Are you new? That's so cool.
Welcome to the Soapbox, guys. I appreciate you guys signing on and becoming members of the Soapbox crew. So, that's awesome.
Gardenome says, nice, congrats. It's almost time to sell out to T-Y.
No, right? Take Progressive Voices offer that he sends me every night in email with a blood stain at the end of it.
Bob Ramirez says he wrote your name on the highway rest stop bathroom wall. Whatever gets people here.
I know, right? However they got here.
Whatever you need to do to get people here.
Welcome to the family, man. Awesome. I appreciate it. Oh, that's so cool.
Okay, so we are way behind on getting the show started.
That's all right.
So now you have to really figure out what you're going to do for 20,000.
Yeah, because I thought I had another 2 weeks.
I knew it wasn't going to be that
long. You never know those videos. Like, there are videos that I do where I'm like, all right, I'm going to put my heart and soul into this video. And I leave, I'm like, God, that's an awesome video. It's informative. It gave people what they wanted to know. It gave my perspective on it. There's not many ums or oohs. It just flows. It is a conduit of reality itself. And it gets like 500 views. And you're like, motherfucker.
They weren't as excited as you were.
And then you do a video on a whim because you just see it on, it's like, oh, Aaron Matei put this up. This is just fucking hilarious. So I'm just going to do this video. And it's like a 5-minute video, 18,000 views.
Well, I do know that.
18,000 views.
It seems like people like the drama.
Well,
people like drama videos too.
They do like drama videos, but in this case, this is them eating crow. That's a video of me watching Rachel. I'm looking at the camera. I'm looking at Rachel Maddow. I say, "Are you gonna cry? Are you gonna cry?" Well, she was crying.
He's done that to me. For the record, I would just like to report that he has, when I have in fact actually been crying in pain, asked me if I was gonna cry, and then he laughed.
She was laughing. I actually mentioned that in the video, by the way. I bring that up in that video.
Okay.
Because you were laughing.
Because I was so confused because I didn't realize that it hurt that bad. So with all the recent stomach stuff that was going on, if you guys don't know, I've been having some issues, GI, physical stuff, and so I was under the weather. Well, Laura, Indiana doesn't know because she's new, so maybe she would like to know. Okay, Laura, I'm speaking to you. So I've been sick and everything, and I had a lot of pain. I was taking pain pills. And like one of the first couple of days, actually that happened when Bo yanked my arm. Anyway, I had an injury, and it hurt, and it surprised me how much it hurt. And I was telling him, I was like, my arm really hurts. And I was like, I think I'm going to start crying. And he was like, are you going to cry? Are you going to cry? Are you crying? Are you crying? And he fucking laughed. I was like,
long as she admits,
I'm fucking crying.
Long as she admits that she was already crying in that process. Just saying. Just saying. Wow, 20,000. I didn't have a speech. I don't have a speech plan.
I do.
No, but it's not your achievement. No, that's my achievement.
I didn't have a speech anyway, so it's fine.
I don't have a speech plan. But I would say this. Thank you guys for showing up. And I do appreciate all of you who just signed on to the Soapbox. And whoever's here in this kind of congratulatory moment, welcome. Yeah.
That's awesome. We got to announce it on the Patron Appreciation Show.
I know.
Patron Appreciation, subscriber appreciation.
All that good stuff.
That's awesome. All right, so
let's do the news.
All right, so let's run down the topics so people can see. All right, so first topic we're going to talk about. Jamal just started reading one this morning. Apparently, there is a potential coup against Prime Minister Theresa May.
Soft coup. Let's call it a soft coup. Yeah, soft coup.
The second one is going to be, of course, you guys know the Mueller report just came out, was released. So we're going to touch very quickly on MSNBC, my potential future employer, and their response to the Mueller report. We're going to just give you a quick update on New Zealand and their ban on semi-automatic weapons after the Christchurch massacres. Noam Chomsky on news media. Sanders campaign announces that they are going to combat carbon emissions. And
first campaign?
Yes, they were the first campaign to announce this. And then a late addition from Garden Gnome, we just pulled from Patreon. He shared a video of Cenk Uygur from TYT responding to the Mueller report. So that's interesting. We'll cover that one as well. And then last but not least, if we have time, is it Laura Conway? What's her first name? I always mess up her first name.
Kelly Conway.
Kelly Conway. Laura Conway. Kelly Conway talks about whether or not she's going to resign after all the drama between her husband and her employer, Donald Trump. So that's the lineup for today.
That is the lineup for today.
So we'll get started.
Yeah, so...
Share, like, subscribe, all that good stuff.
Could you type in Prime Minister Theresa May and Brexit for me? So I wake up this morning, and as I do every morning, I check myself because I like to look at the news lineup of the things that I miss while I was either unconscious. That's assuming I was unconscious. Most nights I'm already watching the news.
Garden Gnome just said you show up at 3 a.m. with a dirty shirt on and start
the news. Or I fall asleep on my desk and just kind of wake up.
Like slobbering.
Yeah, I was like, oh, fuck the news.
What about typing in?
And Brexit. Oh. There's a very specific story that I want.
Okay.
All right. So right here. All right, so the story that I see this morning deals with Theresa May and Brexit. Mainly that the Prime Minister, that there was going to be a quote-unquote soft coup. That her cabinet looked at this and say that this is kind of going off the rails. The country is in a panic, which it literally is. You had Berghaus saying that they weren't going to bring back the same withdrawal bill if there weren't substantial changes to it, because the Prime Minister's plan was, if I just keep bringing the same bill back, eventually they have to accept it, otherwise we're going to go off of a cliff. And at this point, it's utter chaos. Nobody knows what's going to take place. If the Prime Minister does get to bring her bill back, it's very possible that they're going to vote this bill down again. So what you've ended up with was the cabinet in utter panic and talking about potentially taking the Prime Minister down in a coup, that the Parliament itself may take control of Brexit, which I would argue the Parliament has already taken control of Brexit, seeing as they've been voting the Prime Minister's plan down. The Prime Minister has people, of course, seeing that this quote-unquote soft coup has come out in the open. The Prime Minister has called the coup conspirators, who once asked, says, we have no plans at all to do anything for the Prime Minister. We have full support behind the Prime Minister and all plans to the contrary, that we're planning on taking over the reins of Brexit. They're just, media. That's fake news. That's just a rumor. Now, the Prime Minister's not taking it as a rumor because the Prime Minister has dragged their ass to checkers. So, is it? Yeah, 2 hours ago. I was making sure, because the Prime Minister's dragged her PMs to checkers before. This guy in the background being one of the people who they were talking about taking over, if I'm not mistaken. Theresa May has summoned key Eurosceptic critics to meetings at Chequers on Sunday afternoon as the Prime Minister battles to save both her premiership and Brexit after Tory MPs urged her to stand aside. Senior cabinet ministers publicly rallied around Theresa May ahead of the meeting in her official country residence, where she is expected to seek support ahead of a crucial set of votes in Parliament next week that will define the UK's departure from the EU. The meeting will be attended by Brexit-supporting MPs such as Boris Johnson and Jacob Rees-Mogg. Now, those are two people who may be considered for the Prime Ministership if there was a coup against the Prime Minister. Boris Johnson being one of the major Brexiteers and Rees-Mogg being a major Brexiteer. In fact, Boris Johnson was expected to be one of the people who were going to take the Prime Ministership before Theresa May. Like when James Cameron essentially quit. He staked his Prime Ministership on Brexit not passing. And then in this kind of really emotional, emasculating stance, tells Jeremy Corbyn, just go, man. Like, he flips out at the dispatch box. You've never seen anything like it. Brits tend to be more composed than that, but he essentially fell apart.
Lost it.
Yeah, and he's like yelling at Jeremy Corbyn because Jeremy Corbyn, wasn't the one that staked his Prime Ministership on Brexit. So he's out. And it was expected that Boris Johnson was going to be one of those people who was going to be in the contention because he was a key Brexiteer even during Cameron's time. Boris Johnson bowed out and said, yeah, I don't want anything to do with this. When Theresa May took office, Theresa May grabbed his ass and put his ass in the cabinet since he was one of the people who wanted to do Brexit. Oh, I see, grabbed his ass. Yeah, you thought I was going to stop there.
Yeah.
I don't know if Johnson is in for stuff like that. I tend to like powerful women, and I tend to be a sucker for, getting molested by powerful women and being okay with it. I don't know if Johnson is that way. Like, I don't take that from Boris Johnson. Johnson, however, may be in the runnings for the prime ministership now. So would Jason Rees-Mogg, key Brexiteers.
If the coup goes down.
If the coup went through.
But the coup's not going down.
Well, we don't know that. I mean, part of the reason that she's bringing him there, though, I would wager, is to get support. And if the prime minister goes through and her bill is voted down again with like a week before Brexit, oh my God. Now, she got a short extension from the EU. But again, that short extension is not really going to matter if they still don't have any plan for what Brexit means. Like, this is a major story. Like, imagine if California was leaving the United States. And as California was leaving the United States, California had to leave by March 29th.
Right.
And California, for whatever reason, the bill that California was coming out with to leave was voted down. Now, you're leaving, but the bill that you was voted down, you had a week to figure out what does leaving the United States means.
Right.
It's like, that's an amazing thing. Can you imagine for a state to have no idea what's the trade relationship going to be? What's the transportation relationship going to be? Are people going to be allowed to cross into the country without a passport? Are we going to be able to get, what are the shipping? What are the airplane alignments? How are companies going to be able to interact with the differences in laws? And pretend for the moment that you had an area in California that was technically still part of the United States. It's like, how does that part create a relationship between the two things? And if that part had somewhat of a trade regulations, well, those trade regulations are going to be similar to the United States. Are you going to put a border in between that place that's in there and the rest of the California? And if you do so, what if that border was against the law? California law.
So
like, this gets so bizarre.
So how does all this get worked out?
Nobody knows. That's why this is fascinating. Nobody knows. The prime minister is trying to browbeat these people into voting for her bill, which they are ideologically opposed to doing so. And if the DUP pulls support from Theresa May, her government dissolves. The DUP is not going to go for anything that is going to undermine what they want to take place. So, let's see. So right here. However, her own position is coming to question after cabinet ministers started to discuss the possibility of a caretaker such as David Liddington or Michael Gove taking over from Mrs. May. A growing number of Tory MPs have put pressure on Theresa May to resign this weekend, or after at least a set timetable for her departure after a stormy week in which alienated MPs and was humiliated at a key EU summit. Mrs. May has helped by three of her potential candidates. Mrs. Liddington, the de facto Deputy Prime Minister, Philip Hammond, the Chancellor, and Mr. Gove, the Environmental Secretary, all publicly warning against a change of leadership just weeks before the UK is due to leave the EU. Those are also people who they are talking about taking over for the Prime Minister. Meaning, the people who are saying, who they're saying are going to take over are the people who are screaming loudest to let the Prime Minister stay in. This is fascinating. We don't know the reality of this. I mean, it's possible that Theresa May gets taken down just in a few weeks before Brexit.
See, I don't follow this. So this is like, I hear you talk about it from time to time, but I'm not entrenched in this. So all this is a little kind of far out.
Mind-blowing, right?
From this. It's mind-blowing that it's like, it's so chaotic.
Yeah. Well, that's why they're talking about leadership, because they consider Theresa May to be entirely incompetent. Like, it's a few things. Either incompetence, meaning she just bungled this. Like, these guys are...
Are you thinking Could it be not incompetence?
Well, that's
Could this
the
have
other.
been intentional?
That's the other hypothesis.
This is a lot of fuckery to be done
it's
intentionally.
so much fuckery that there is no way that this much fuckery went about, like, without it being intentional.
Right.
George Galloway doesn't buy that. George Galloway, who's been in Parliament, he was having a conversation and he says, I know these people. This is not intentional.
So this is just incompetence.
This is incompetence. At least according to Galloway. Because their thought was, she's trying to create a position that is so horrendous that the public itself wouldn't want to back. And the public doesn't want to back it to such a degree that the public just says, fuck it, just stay. Just revoke Article 50, we just stay in the European Union. Meaning the public gets so sick and tired of Brexit that even though they voted for it, they just get worn down and decide to leave. Yeah. That's the thought. I remember Gordon saying that. But I believe Galloway a little bit more so because Galloway has been in Parliament. And if Galloway is like, no, this is incompetence. But Galloway would also say, though, this looks like the end of Brexit. Because the public...
How much longer is this shit going to draw on?
We don't know.
See, that's
Britain could literally be locked into the European Union. Because keep in mind, if you're from the European Union's perspective, and I know we're killing the story, but I'll end it on this. If you're from the European Union's perspective, you have guys who are true believers, like who believe in this idea of a European Union in the same way you have people who believe in this kind of United States,
right?
Like full on, we need to have a European military and everything else. Kinda. Yeah, full on internationalists, like a federalist. And so this idea of Britain leaving, it's repugnant. Like it's insulting. Like, what do you mean you don't want to be part of it? When Britain was joining the European Union, France's response was no. France didn't want Britain in the European Union. But now that they're in the European Union, they're leaving. It's like, you bastards. Yeah. You're leaving us. And so these true believers who don't want the other countries to leave and don't want the other countries to leave, despite there being, like Italy, who has a Eurosceptic government at this point. You have Greece, who've been browbeat, like battered by the European Union. You have, what is it? The one that's in, it's an authoritarian government within the UK, within the European Union itself, who's running afoul of the immigrants thing. I can't think of it. It's not Poland. It's a country beside Poland. But there's another European, is it Hungary? I think it's Hungary, where that government is running afoul of the European Union also, meaning they're clashing. Many of these countries are clashing with the European Union. And fact of the matter is, if they had referendums in the various countries, those countries probably leave. If you had a referendum in Paris today on whether or not to leave the European Union, what do you think their answer would be? They'd leave. I guarantee you they'd leave. So, there's a clash between the European Union and these various other governments, while simultaneously the people who being in charge of these governments not want to leave the European Union and being these kind of, ideas in Europe. So from their standpoint, Britain is deciding to leave. If Britain leaves with a better deal, what does it mean for the other countries that are in the European Union? Meaning, from the perspective of the people in power, Britain cannot leave with a better deal. Britain has to leave.
Isn't that going to kind of make other people want to leave?
Exactly. Britain has to leave with a worse deal. Meaning Britain has to be in difficult straits when it leaves. Otherwise, the European Union looks weaker because of it. So, from the European Union perspective, Britain has to leave with a bad deal. They can't do this intentionally. But if you just say, look, we're a rules-based organization. We're just following the rules. And if Britain wants to leave, fair enough. But Britain has to follow the rules. But the problem is, these rules means that there's going to be a border on Northern Ireland, which is against the laws of the UK. That's all they have to say, though. So you have this situation where the UK is trying to leave, and these guys want to take a chunk out of the UK for leaving. Now, from the UK standpoint, be it Labour or be it the Tory governments are clashing with each other in regards to what Brexit is going to mean. And so there's this Tory infighting where they're eating each other's face off. Yeah. Labour has also taken the position because Labour wants to get the prime ministership out of this, meaning they don't want to do anything to help the Tories in this. They want to just stand back and say, look, here are our guidelines. This is what we need in order to make this deal work, which means never. They're never going to make that deal work because they want another thing. So Britain takes the hit for all of this. Like, this is what makes us fascinating because the politics are taking place within Labour, within the Tory governments, against the Labour and the Tory governments, within the European Union and the Britain thing itself. And all of these guys are jockeying for political position to gain power. Oh, this is fascinating politics. And all of this, mind you, they have to leave at a certain point. And so even if they get the extension, you still need to be able to get something to go through. The people who are pushing for this thing, there are a lot of people who don't care that the public voted to leave. They want Britain to stay. And from their politics, the fact that they got the prime minister to lose a vote saying, we won't leave without a deal, meaning no Brexit is off the table,
right?
Which is nonsense. You can't take no Brexit off the table. Simultaneously, the prime minister deal is a fail. So then the only thing she could do was get an extension. If you get a Remainer in office, that Remainer may say, okay, let's have a referendum on whether or not we take the prime minister's deal or stay. In which case they're going to say, we don't want her deal. This is nonsense. This is the worst deal. We might as well stay. In which case the people who never accepted the Brexit referendum in the first place kills the Brexit referendum, using the prime minister as this kind of incompetent, as Gardner would call a sin eater. It just means the person who's taking all the flack.
I get it.
So I'm fascinated by the politics in the UK. They're talking about potentially getting rid of the prime minister. The prime minister is trying to maintain her position. And the fact of the matter is, even if they had another election and Labour took over, I'm not quite sure. I think Jeremy Corbyn is talking about like a customs union or something to that effect. But fascinating politics that's taking place in the UK. I hope I gave a pretty good explanation of the chaos that's taking place. They're talking about getting rid of the prime minister. The prime minister is trying to hold her seat. She's bringing everybody essentially to browbeat them to keep her position. The European Union is pissed off.
There's some comments here. Do you want me to read the comments out?
Go for it.
Because I am not in, I don't want to say I'm not into this, but...
You don't care.
I care, but I'm not. I'm never going to look at this and be like, that's fascinating. Like, I know that you get like all hyping into it, but they are following it like you are following it. So I think that their comments are
Go for it.
much more insightful than I would give. Gardenome says the EU has not made this process easy. If the EU would bend a bit on immigration, Good Friday, and some other issues, this could be resolved.
They're not. Wait. But they're not. There's no incentive. Honestly, what is it? Like, if you're... Think about it for the moment. Think about it from the European Union standpoint. If you are the European Union and a country is trying to leave, that country said it wanted to be there, so fair enough. And now this country wants to leave. And if this country leaves, and it's somewhat of an easier process for this country to leave, what about Greece? What about Italy? What about Hungary? What about all these other countries? What about France? Can you imagine if France leaves? Like, that's the breaking of the European Union at this point, particularly when the major economies leave.
To that note, before John Benson said France would never leave the European Union.
Because because France would never give them a referendum. France would never leave because they would never get a referendum. I'm just saying, that's why.
Darren Levy says Poland, Hungary, Italy, all would leave. Even France and German normal people would leave. It's the leaders of those countries who don't want that.
Exactly.
The EU to end.
Not to mention if the euro breaks down.
Johnny Nice says, I always feel like Jamarl looks like a teacher and Mrs. Thomas is his student in the video. A lot of times I am.
Well, it's only because I'm the one that's have the biggest interest in this stuff.
So I'm just kind of like, okay.
She's like, yeah, that's interesting.
Oh, okay. And then a lot of times, because I don't follow it like he does, when I'm hearing it for the first time and I'm dissecting it. So I am being schooled.
Oh, that's funny.
But I like to ask questions from that perspective because not everybody might be following like he is and like some of you all are.
Yeah.
I even know that some of you are in these countries. Gardenome says exactly to Darren Levy, they are always changing policies to accommodate Germany, but they can't bend an inch with UK.
And they bend for France. Like that last budget, when France was going, when all of the, last weekend, and if I'm not mistaken, even today, this weekend, the Yellow Vests have been flipping out in France. Flipping out, burning shit down. Now, the budget that Macron is coming out with is a gimme from Germany. Now, if you remember, you may not remember, I said it's like you remember, but in Italy's budget, there was a fight between the Italian government, who's Eurosceptic, and the European Union. Okay. And the fight was over the amount of money that Italy wanted to spend, because Italy wanted to give universal basic income. They essentially wanted to, this is one of their campaign promises. Right-wing government is promising like universal basic income. Yeah. So they wanted to have their budget to be a particular thing. Germany was like, no. And got into a fight with the European Union over that budget. Now, France, Macron puts out a budget that runs afoul of the European Union's things, but they were given a pass because they knew that the Yellow Vest was burning shit down and that Macron had only so much leeway in order to do what he did. Like, suppose for the moment that Macron puts up this budget, Macron couldn't do the stuff that the Yellow Vest was forcing or trying to push because of the European Union. What would that mean from the standpoint of the Yellow Vesters and their focus? I guarantee you their focus would have changed to, we need to be out of the European Union because they're not allowing us to do what we need. The gift that they gave for Macron was in order to keep France in the European Union. Yeah. Like, it's literally, they were able to give way to France, but they didn't give way to Italy. But understand what this means. This is the European Union putting pressure on these governments, despite what these governments wanted to do for their own countries. Like, I'm fascinated by this. These are not states. Like, this is not like, you know, Texas runs into an issue, and the rest of the country just believes automatically that we're going to have Texas because Texas is part of the United States. This is a country in and of itself. Yeah.
I
get it. Yeah.
All right. Darren Alevy says most Brits, including me, so he's British, are bored of it now. We can all see, even me, who voted Remain, can see the establishment never meant to follow through on Brexit.
Yeah.
We should leave WTO. Leave one. I think there might be some words on. Laura Indiana, thank you. She gave us $2 super chat. It just says, "Look at me, I'm a big spender." Luther says, Laura, I'm following.
Did the free super chat thing work?
It did not work for me. Earlier in the show, it was just a couple people on. We're about at 150 people viewing, so welcome. Earlier in the show, I mentioned that when I logged onto YouTube today and was watching a video, it gave me two $1 super chats to give to the person doing the video for free. I tried to do it and it didn't let me put any text in.
But
it just let me give $1.
I think I know why.
Why?
So if it's me and I'm a software engineer, well, I was a software engineer for years, for nearly a decade. If the company came to me and the company said, look, we want to give a special deal. We want to give super chats for free. And the first thing as an engineer, I say, okay, fine, we can do that. That's not a problem. And you add in a subroutine that would allow them to just give a free super chat. Then the first question someone is going to ask in a meeting, what if somebody put something inappropriate? Wouldn't we, the company, have some responsibility for the tweets or the chats that people put in? So somebody might have anti-gay stuff or anti-immigrant stuff. You've essentially allowed a free means for somebody to be racist, sexist, bigoted, anti-Semitic when the company's done.
So no comments associated with it.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so
from the standpoint of the company would say,
we'll give you free money,
but we can't allow tweets because we're liable for those tweets.
Right. Okay.
That's
so
what will come up in the meeting.
To that end, if you're giving the $1 freebie, put your comment right underneath that. I'll search for your name. Bikes.
That's a good idea, babe.
Sir Bikes a lot. Did give the $1. I don't know if that's the $1 freebie, but he gave a $1 super chat. So thank you for that. Yeah. That's not the reason, LOL. You pay per the amount of text you want.
Oh, and $1 doesn't give it checks?
I'm not sure about that because I typed in quite a bit and it didn't. I don't know. It didn't work for me.
Well, they give you the text you want, but if the company is giving you a free super chat, the question becomes, I've seen people put in $2 and still can put in text.
Right.
So that can't be it.
So I'm not sure, but to that end, if you donate and you do the $1 freebie, just put your comment after it. We try to kind of check up on the comments and read the comments out loud, but I might not always catch your comment.
Yeah.
So if it's done through Super Chat or through Streamlabs, of course we'll see. So.
All right. So this was cool. Keep a watch of the UK stuff. I am keeping a watch of the UK stuff, and so I'm going to continuously bring that stuff back as that story advances because I am fascinated by what. This is what I mean when I say, like, it's fascinating because usually you know what's going to take place tomorrow. Like, oh, there's a vote coming up for this, and this person is most likely going to win.
That's what I said. It's just chaos.
This is chaos. This is utter chaos, and part of they're freaking out. Like, you can tell. Like, it's palpable. They're freaking out. And so they're terrified of leaving the UK leaving the European Union without a deal. And so, because they don't know what it means. Like, even those people say, oh, we just work on the WTO rules. Yeah, but what about Ireland? Are you going to lose Ireland? Like, these guys are talking about annexing Ireland as kind of a penalty for the incompetence taking place by Britain. If Ireland is not part of the UK, then there's no issue. Because at that point, Ireland's still part of the European Union. So if they're not part of the UK, no issue. Yeah. Whatever border or whatever else comes up, it's not an issue. Now, the problem here is Theresa May government will collapse because the DUP won't allow it. So now, none of them are going to want to be part of the European Union falling apart. And if they leave, it's possible that Scotland is going to hold a referendum, which is going to rip Scotland from the European Union. From the UK itself, because they want to stay. So the next thing I want to get to, which I got to be honest, I was enamored by, and
With our next topic?
Yeah, I got a kick out of. MSNBC is not handling the Mueller report all that well. Now, what do I mean by that? That's Chris Matthews. That's hardball.
I know who the hell Chris Matthews is.
MSNBC. So, Mueller report comes out. And the Mueller report, who we've been told with bated breath, oh, Trump's days are numbered. The wagons are circling around Trump. It's an embattled presidency. Donald Trump is fighting for his life. That's what they've been telling us. Mm-hmm. And they've been like, Cenk Uygur was like, if Donald Trump tries to get rid of Mueller report, we need to throw our bodies in the streets. Throw your bodies in the way. That's what we've been told the entire time. For 2 years now. That's what we've been told.
Okay.
That's what they've been telling us, that Mueller is going to be the end of Donald Trump. And then Mueller comes out with his report.
And that's not what happened?
That's not what happened.
Oh, go figure.
It came out with silence. Because Mueller has essentially said, there's nobody else that we're going to prosecute. Our indictments are done without one American being indicted for anything to do with the Russia case. Manafort gets locked up, but Manafort has nothing to do with the Russia case.
Right.
None of the people that went to prison for this got anything to do with the Russia case. There's no collusion, because if they were going to assume somebody of collusion takes more than one person. It takes two people, and there's not even one person who's being hit with collusion. For 2 years, they've went with this conspiracy theory. Russia. I had a conversation with my mom yesterday, because my mom was on board for this Russia conspiracy stuff. And you should see the look on her face. Oh, she was looking at me like, I mean, it doesn't mean, but I mean, I'm just saying, I know the media was pushing this and I'm not saying it was right. I just hate Donald Trump. I just fucking hate him. That's where everything else came, and when all of it fell apart, what it boiled down to is, I hate Donald Trump. I just want them to get him on something.
Trump with Russia,
then fair enough.
Let it be Russia.
Yeah. And, God-fearing woman loves Jesus, but on this particular point, I just hate him. I just want to go to fucking prison. I don't care if it has anything to do with Russia. My
first question was, so what is everybody saying now? Like, everybody who said Russia for the last
How are they dealing with this?
What do they do now?
Because MSNBC...
And I asked, before you said anything to me, my thought was, they're just going to say the Mueller report is bullshit. Like, if they're, like, avid, true...
Russiagate.
Like, if they believe it. Not if they're just spewing this because of whatever. But if they really do believe that this stuff has been going on, the Mueller report isn't going to change that. They're just going to say, fuck that.
How do you deal with, though, screaming that the Mueller report was the thing?
Then you said, well, I don't know about that.
Because their thing was the Mueller report is the thing.
Wait till the Mueller report comes out?
They've said that for 2 years. Because the Mueller report was their thing to try to make this stick. That was going to be the investigation that gives them the evidence to put Donald Trump away. Now, I've said that the issue here isn't the Mueller report. It's the stuff that comes out that's ancillary to the Mueller report. Because it's like, why did Bill Clinton get impeached? Bill Clinton got impeached for a blowjob. Yeah. But what was the original thing? Whitewater. It had nothing to do with the original investigation itself that they used to get Bill Clinton on. So my thought was, this was used as a political hit job in order to pull other stuff out of the campaigns. But Mueller ends his case.
Trudy says, happy Mueller report day. You knew we were going to have to talk about this.
MSNBC is not handling this well. Rachel Maddow, Chris Hardball, Nance, Michael Nance, Jake Uger, even. I watched the video that Gardner said, oh, God, Uger has to explain why the Mueller report doesn't matter now, just like the others have to explain why the Mueller report doesn't matter and that Trump is just completely
entirely guilty. Even though it did matter, and they were kind of betting on that.
According to them, it mattered. I guarantee you this, if Mueller found something, they would have said every report mattered. I told you so. I told you so. I knew it. All of those Russian gators. All right, so let's take a look at some of the meltdowns.
Do you want to put Jinx in with this one instead of doing that last?
I guess we could. Yeah, we can put Jinx in.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. This is...
Trudy says she doesn't think the report is necessarily as benign as is being advertised.
What the
Mueller report?
The Mueller report. I don't think it's benign in the sense of the business stuff. I think it's benign in the sense of Russia. Trump and Russia. The premise of this was that Donald Trump was somehow colluding with the Russian government in order to get elected.
Right. I was going to say during the election.
Right. Now, it's one thing if you say, well, wait a minute, this report shows some kind of business dealing. Fair enough. If you say this report shows something that took place that Donald Trump said wasn't true, fair enough. But I'm talking about the very specific, Donald Trump was colluding with the Russian government in order to win the election. That's the very basic point. If they end up getting Donald Trump with some kind of business deal, I don't really care about that part. My argument has just been against Russian collusion. It's very possible that Donald Trump is going to get locked up on some kind of business stuff after the election. There are additional investigations that are taking place right now that Michael Cohen exposed.
Barbara Mears said Maddow's going to go after tax returns now.
Is that what that's going to be the switch? That's what I mean. There's going to be a shift of focus of stuff that came up. Let's look at Matthews. Because, again, Matthews was one of these Russia gators. Let's see what Matthews has to say about this.
I'm going to stick with you, my colleague. Why was there never an interrogation of this president? We were told for weeks by experts, you cannot deal with an obstruction of justice charge or an investigation without getting to motive. You do not get to motive unless you hear from the person himself who's being targeted, a subject of the investigation. How can they let Trump off the hook? So far tonight, we have no reason to believe Trump is going to be charged by rhetoric in the document itself, in the Mueller report. No, he will not be charged with obstruction or of collusion without ever having to sit down with the special counsel Mueller and answer his damn questions. How can that happen?
That is a great question.
Wow, it seems like Matthews is pretty animated about this. He's having some severe feelings. Now, the wild part about this, look at his eyes. Look at his eyes. He's angry. He may have even been drinking.
What? That's how rumors get started.
That is how rumors get started, but he has a look about him. Now, I don't know that. That's me being a conspiracy theorist. He's angry. The wild part about this is, they really didn't care all that much about Hillary Clinton sitting down. Like, think about what he's saying here. How do you get to the crux of this case without Hillary Clinton sitting down for an investigation? Comey ended his investigation with Clinton before Clinton even sat down for the investigation.
Right.
I don't think Matthews cared all that much. And when Matthews had Hillary Clinton on, when he was finally talking about her with the campaign stuff for an interview last time, the only thing, it was like they were playing footsies under the table. It was like, oh, you look so nice today. I love your passing. No, it wasn't that far from it, seriously. The only question that Chris Matthews started getting serious on was the war, the Iraq war. It's like he flips a switch. When there's Iraq war, but it's night and day within the same interview where he flips. And it's almost like Clinton looks like she was surprised by the flip itself. Of course, in which he then flips back to his normal, like playing footsies. That's his one. Yeah. He just felt some kind of way about the Iraq war vote. He's angry. And it's amazing that the standard that these guys are creating here that they didn't have before. Like, here's another one. I want to be able to show, do they have Nance on here? All right, I don't know if Nance is on this one.
Just real quick while you're looking for that one, Carl M, thank you, gave a $1 super chat. I'm not sure, Carl, if you're trying to do the freebie. I don't see a comment, though, but thank you either way. Lantern Rouge, $2 or €2, so thank you for that. And then we have a comment from Amir Faria. Says, funny, Cheng said you can unsubscribe if you don't like them being pro-Russiagate.
Seriously?
I found better progressive like you. Thanks, Cheng. That's funny.
The funny part is, a lot of people must have already subscribed because of that. Like, he must have had people who say, man, fuck you, I'm unsubscribed. Yeah. And Jenkins was like, well, you can unsubscribe if you want to. And then the last 4 or 5 people unsubscribes.
Bob Ramirez says, go away, Batten? What am I missing?
Bannon, maybe?
Go away.
Go away, Batten.
Bob Ramirez, man, you can't do a super chat if we don't understand.
Yeah, we gotta understand it. We gotta understand the super chat.
What are you trying to say?
Yeah, we gotta understand it. So here's another one while Bob explains that. So here's Malcolm Nance. Nance is a regular on MSNBC. He's supposed to be some kind of ex-security analyst. I mean, counterterrorism analyst. Now, I've always joked that Nance looks like and I've said this joke is somewhat racist, but I'll recount it.
I felt something racist coming on. Go ahead.
That Nance looks like he owes somebody child support. Now,
that's so fucking racist.
That is fucking racist, but I think I know why. Nance looks like my dad.
Okay,
look at him. No, look at him. Seriously, look at him. You've seen my picture of my dad.
I don't think
a little bit. Now, I think it's that. So
it looks like somebody's daddy.
He looks like somebody's dad. So fair enough. Let's hear Nance. Nance has been on MSNBC constantly, and he's been one of these counterterrorism agents and everything else. Let's hear Nance.
Defend democracy. Right? What is the Army motto? This we'll defend. They should be saying right now, I don't care what's in that report, we're going to go to town and we're going to find out what the facts are. Defend.
He said,
fuck the report.
He said, fuck the report. I love this. This Nance was one of these guys that was like, we must protect the Mueller report. We must protect the Mueller report.
Defend democracy. Right? What is the Army motto? This we'll defend. They should be saying right now, I don't care what's in that report.
I don't care what's in that report.
Come on.
Isn't that awesome? Defend democracy. I don't care what's in that report. He need to put more bass in his voice if you're going to say it that way.
Unless it supported my narrative.
Yeah.
And then I would be all for the
Isn't that amazing? What he misses here is that the report is the democratic process. Like the bureaucracy that was involved in putting this report out in order to go against the President of the United States. This was an investigation of the President of the United States. This is literally, you could say, a show of democracy to some respects.
That's what we did.
Is what we did. I mean, after all, you didn't just remove the president, nor did you have a president that can just ignore the fact that they had a report. All of the focus was on this report. And maybe the Democrats shouldn't have put as much focus on the report because now they've legitimized the report to such a degree that the fact that it cleared him, no, not of everything, but of this very specific point, shows that they were lying about something that they've spent 2 years talking about. Like, it is defend democracy. The report is the democratic order of things. His ignoring the report is not. I hope that's clear. I hope you understand what I mean by this. This argument of defend democracy. What he is talking about is a rush on Washington ignoring the democratic process. He wants to ignore it. So, that's amazing. Here's another one. Joanne Reed. Joanne Reed asked the question. Let me see if I can find it. Joanne Reed goes so far as to ask the question. She says, this smells like a cover-up. This is the beginnings of a cover-up. That's what she said. Now, in fact, let me find that report. But while we wait for this one, here's another one. This is Rachel Maddow crying. Maddow crying.
Barr was going to block him. Well, at least as far as this letter goes, from the attorney, Barr was going to.
Right off the bat, look at her eyes. Her eyes are glassy, very glassy. She's crying. She's going to break up. You can tell the exact moment where the delusion breaks.
Block him. Well, at least as far as this letter goes, from the Attorney General, Bill Barr, tonight, Barr says he never exercised that power. He's notifying Congress formally there was never anything the special counsel sought to do that Bill Barr stopped Mueller from doing. And that's fascinating. Of course.
Wait a minute, it's funny. You can even see the tear streaks in her eyes. Like she's broken up over this.
Barr was going to block him. Well, at least as far as this letter goes, from the Attorney General, Bill Barr, tonight, Barr says he never exercised that power. He's notifying Congress formally there was never anything the special counsel sought to do that Bill Barr stopped Mueller from doing. And that's fascinating. Of course, everybody would like to hear that from Robert Mueller as well as from Bill Barr. But at this point, it's only Bill Barr who is speaking on Mueller's behalf. Robert Mueller is still, at this point, publicly silent, as he has been from the very beginning. Although we'll have more on that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Are you going to cry, Maddow? Are you going to cry? Look, I
don't think that's as funny as you.
You may think that I'm being somewhat of a prick here by showing this video and laughing at Maddow crying here.
Yeah.
But understand, Maddow has spent 2 years hyping up hysteria. 2 years freaking out her audience, who the majority of that audience is in the 60s and 70s and of age range. Freaking out people like my mom, who look at her as if she has a certain degree of legitimacy on this issue, telling them that the Russians and the Chinese are out to get us. 2 years telling people, do you know Maddow had a report when we were 50 degrees below zero, and she says the Russians and the Chinese are trying to take down our energy grids. What if they take down our energy grids while there's 50 degrees below and we don't have a president who's standing up and representing America, defending us? This is the stuff that she's been telling people for 2 years.
Yeah,
and so
she cries a lot, and you laugh.
No, she doesn't. She never cries. Rachel Maddow never cries. She's a newsman.
What?
This is the first time Rachel Maddow, in the entire time that she's been on television,
I'll find one. She's cried
on camera.
Before. We've seen her cry before.
Why do you think she's crying right now?
I think she's heartbroken because the Mueller report didn't say what she thought it was going to say.
And that matters so much that she's crying? Why does it matter so much?
She's so upset because she just knew that Trump had been colluding with Russia.
Or that...
And I can't believe now that they didn't come out and verify everything that I believe.
My conspiracy theories that I've been hyping up for 2 years.
Now, do you think she's crying because... Do you think she really believes it?
That's the catch. That's the question. Like, is it she's crying because she really believed it and they didn't convict him, or she's crying because they just didn't get him? Which one is it? And it's
I feel like she really believes. My
you think she's a true believer?
My thing for all these people is, do they really believe it?
You think she's a true believer?
I gotta be honest, I don't know.
I don't know either. That's the problem.
I don't know enough. I don't watch enough of Rachel Maddow to know.
I don't know if she's a true believer.
All of these people who are spewing this, I wonder, do they really believe it? Or like you said, or they just like get Trump with something?
She makes $30,000 a day.
Oh, I thought you were going to say a year. I was going to say
no, a day.
No.
She's a Democrat, meaning she's part of the party apparatus. When Donna Brazile came out and wrote about a book, she was hawking her book, and she said they cheated Bernie Sanders. For all intents and purposes, Donna Brazile, they cheated Bernie Sanders. Keith Olbermann comes out, and Keith Olbermann wasn't shocked. Keith Olbermann wasn't like, oh my God, those fucking Democrats. He said Donna Brazile has just lost her career. Understand what I mean? They just came out and said one of the major candidates in a political race was cheated. And the only thing that Olbermann can say is, oh my God, I'm not shocked by that. It was, you've just lost your career. Meaning, the fact that you told something that everybody already knew, you've just lost, you can no longer work with these people after telling something like that. Meaning, it's possible that she already knew. In the same way that Olbermann already knew. In the same way that Donna Brazile already knew. It's just, you got to keep our secret and you got to keep that shit to yourself. I'm inclined to believe that Rachel Maddow didn't give a shit one way or the other of whether Donald Trump was colluding with Russia. Her agenda, her job was to sell it and to make that shit work and to get Trump convicted. And this tears right here is probably because they didn't get her.
People are saying she's a paid liar. Tears are fake. Her makeup.
Oh, I don't think the tears are fake. I don't think the tears are fake.
He's just questioning the motive behind
the tears. No, I think the tears are real. I don't think she's... you invest yourself in something so thoroughly where you've gone full retarded. Like, you commit. Robert Downey Jr. in Hot Shots, in that movie, commit. Like, that level of committing. Where you go into blackface and you're talking like, you know, some guy from the whatever, like the Sanford and Son or something to that effect. And you do that the entire movie and people are like, oh, that's so brazenly racist. Like, that level of commit. And the thing that you commit on, you find you didn't get them. Like, you do everything that you could to whip up a hysteria. And you couldn't get them. You didn't complete your mission. Your mission was the impeachment of Donald Trump. And your best chance of doing that was Mueller. Because the Mueller thing was the only thing where the entirety of the public had attention on that you could have legitimately, in an illegitimate way, take down the president of the United States.
It didn't happen, so now
it didn't happen. So now she's pissed off and she's crying. That's what that's what I think. I don't think it's, oh my God, I entirely believe this. Maybe I'm more cynical than I should be on this, but I take it as, it's hard to know. I mean, and to be honest, I don't necessarily know if it matters.
That's what Gardner said. It doesn't matter. She's spewing nonsense.
I don't know if it matters. I mean, it matters only in the sense of what kind of person we think she is. If she believes it, then it's like, oh, okay, she just believes the stuff, she's acting this way. As opposed to her not believing what makes it infinitely worse or a little bit worse. But either way, she is spewing this nonsense, and it didn't come out what she thought it was. And so now their response is, fuck the report.
That's kind of what I thought was going to happen.
Fuck the report.
Because what else can you do?
You can't. You're
not going to say we were wrong all this time. Has anyone come out and said, oh, the Mueller report came out, we were wrong?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Right. I couldn't imagine.
To be fair, Michael Isikoff, Isikoff is a reporter, but he's a real journalist. Like he started coming out saying, yeah, okay, I'm not seeing it. Like, not that Trump is not guilty of something, but not the Russia collusion stuff. Yeah. Isikoff even backed away from it. He was having a really good conversation, I think, with Aaron Matei. And even he backed away from it. He wrote a book on it. Like he wrote the book on Russia and Trump stuff, and even he had to pull himself away from that particular thing.
Well, that was, like I said, that was my thinking. I couldn't really see this going any other way when the Mueller report came out and did not identify anything real.
Either they were just going to say...
well, that report's bullshit.
All right, so here's Joy Ann Reid, another Russia maniac. Where's my... There it is.
This guy is not...
Listen to Joy Ann Reid. So Joy Ann Reid has a different conspiracy theory. In the moment that the other conspiracy theory ends, Joy Ann Reid whips up another conspiracy theory. This is awesome.
The fact that this investigation takes place within the Justice Department, which Donald Trump essentially controls, and that he got rid of the problem, Jeff Sessions, who the one decent thing that he did was just recuse himself. This guy is not recused. It feels like the seeds of a cover-up are here.
It feels like the seeds of a cover-up. Let's hit that one more time.
That this investigation takes place within the Justice Department, which Donald Trump essentially controls, and that he got rid of the problem, Jeff Sessions, who the one decent thing that he did was just recuse himself. This guy is not recused. It feels like the seeds of a cover-up are here.
Here's the problem. If you think back to the Clinton case, you had a situation where Obama puts in Loretta Lynch. Loretta Lynch comes in, right. And the case, okay, let me say it this way. Obama puts in Loretta Lynch. Where's my thing? My scene changed?
What are we doing?
I don't know. Something happened to my scene. There we are. So, yeah, we are. So, Obama puts in, there it is. So, Obama puts in Loretta Lynch. Loretta Lynch is the one who's in charge of the case. Overarching. Loretta Lynch says, I'm not going to have anything to do with this case. Whatever they bring to me is what they bring to me. Now, she's saying this for obvious reasons. The person who's running is Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. She's running for president. She's also under a criminal investigation, which she could be put in prison over concerning her emails. So the point that Loretta Lynch is making is, look, I have a relationship with Clinton. I have a relationship with Obama because he puts me in office. I am a Democrat. And I don't want to have any undue influence on this case because people are already somewhat cynical and because I'm over the process. I don't want to make it look like Obama's Defense Department or Obama's Justice Department is having undue influence on this case, despite the fact that his Secretary of State is the one that's being prosecuted. This is the same situation. What she's saying here, it looks like the fix is in. is the exact same situation that Joy Ann Reid is talking about here with Trump and the other people. Clinton is the subject of an investigation. The president of the United States is a member of her particular party. She is running for the presidency of the United States. Meaning everybody that's in the Justice Department that's looking over this has a dog in the hunt of making sure she's intact. Like, she's saying this with a straight face. It's like, it's not even, she doesn't, like, it doesn't connect at all. Like, listen to her. It's the exact same situation, and Joy Ann Reid doesn't see it.
The fact that this investigation takes place within the Justice Department, which Donald Trump essentially controls, and that he got rid of the problem, Jeff Sessions, who the one decent thing that he did was just recuse himself. This guy.
If we were looking for an honest case with Hillary Clinton, then it shouldn't have been done at all. There should have been a special prosecutor in the same way there was a special prosecutor with the case with Donald Trump. Otherwise, this is not an honest process. And it gets worse. You know, you find out later on that through Lisa Page, the person who was having a relationship with Strzok, that the Justice Department did intrude on the case. Like, Comey was being pressured to talk about the case in a particular way. We have no idea how far that pressure even went, meaning behind-the-scenes conversations. We do know Loretta Lynch was talking to Bill Clinton and then turns around and lies about the conversation or what they were talking about in the conversation. Oh, my God, my wife is going to be prosecuted. Don't let them prosecute my wife. Don't worry. It's okay. Oh, we were just talking about our grandkids. We were just talking about our grandkids. It's like, why? Your wife is about to be prosecuted. You know, what do you say? It's like, are you really going to not talk about the fact that your wife may be prosecuted? And then you find out later through Lisa Page in secret testimony that we did bring this case to try to get a case of negligence. The Justice Department wouldn't allow it. Right. Loretta Lynch, head of the Justice Department, would not allow us to bring the case that we wanted to bring. It's fucking mind-blowing. That is literally what they're talking about here as being a cover-up. Doesn't look like cover-up at all. Just saying.
Real quick, super chat. Black Privileged says the Russiagate mess was a plot to save new liberal Democrats from Justice Democrats like AOC. It worked.
Yeah. I mean, the argument that I was trying to make to my mom was that you fed into what was done as a political ploy. They needed several things. One, they needed to get from point A to point B, meaning you failed to the point of losing 1,100 seats all throughout the United States. You lost the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, and the presidency. You failed. Now, if you need to have some kind of come to Jesus moment to explain that failure, well, fair enough, but that's not what they did. Instead, they said, Russia. If we scream about Russia at the height of our lungs, we don't need to deal with us. We don't need to deal about why this broke down. We just need to distract. Deflect. Yeah. On issues of, income inequality, on issues of homelessness, on issues of healthcare, on issues of senior citizens, on issues of people living out in the streets, on issues of, pick your item. And the Democratic Party, who has somewhat of a philosophical responsibility to deal with these things, failed. They outright failed. And so when I'm having this conversation with my mom and I'm like, of all of these things that plague you, you decided to pick the one that had nothing to do with her losing and scream about that for the last 2 years. And she was like, yeah, that's true. But that's fucking Russia. It's like, this is kind of my point. Like, that's kind of my point. Like, A, it was a distraction. That's the first point. B, the thing that was in those emails showed that Hillary Clinton cheated Bernie Sanders. How do you deal with that? Now, people knew this. Everybody knew it. And the only thing they would say is, oh, that's fruit from the forbidden tree. That ultimately, if you are reading that, then you are somehow reading Russian propaganda information. All of it was done to some degree. I mean, meaning this was also a way to cover the fact that they cheated Sanders. Sanders knew they cheated Sanders. The people who left the party knew that they cheated Sanders. The last thing the Democratic Party wanted to do was talk about it. Again, like, even to this thing where Nancy Pelosi makes this argument of, oh, people will come back once they see how bad Trump is. This assumption that in 2 years, polarity would change, we'd just be back to politics as normal. So we just need to get from point A to point B. Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, being told by their billionaires' supporters, if you keep bringing up this word billionaire, we will not give you money. Like, the Russia stuff is done as a distraction. That's my point. As a ploy, as to not talk about the main things that deal with our public while simultaneously finding a way in order to hit Donald Trump. Meaning you can hit Trump on this thing that you're some kind of Russian plant and they're going to be a slow bleed over the course of the election season. We can find attrition stuff to hit you with in addition to whatever pops out of it, meaning a tactical advantage allowing other tactical advantages. So, well, we can't take Trump down on us, fuck. But look at all this business stuff that we pulled out. Oh, look at his tax returns that came out. Oh, look at the additional cases that are being brought up in New York that we wouldn't have known anything about had we not started this kind of thing in order to pull information. Like, there are a few advantages. Also, they hit the left. Hit the left. You know, you guys are Russian plants for bringing up this stuff. Like, how dare you bring up Clinton's whatever? You guys are using Russian information. All of this stuff has been done for political purposes. And to some degree, some of it's fallen apart, but you still have been able to get from point A to point B. I mean, my mom hates it when I say that. It's true.
Do you want to watch one more?
Yeah, we can watch Jinx. So let's watch Jinx.
One more response to the Mueller report, and then we'll move on from this.
Yeah.
Mueller.
All right. So I'm just seeing this one, and I can't play the entirety of it because if I play the entirety of it, they will ding this video. But Cenk Uygur also has to explain the issue of collusion, right? Cenk Uygur has to come out because he's been a Russia guy. He's been one of these people who are pushing the Russia angle.
So he's got to respond.
He has to respond. He has to say something about it. Mueller comes out with a report. Nothing to see here, folks. What does Cenk say? So I've heard Cenk make this argument with Aaron Matei. It's more comical when he makes it with Aaron Matei because Aaron Matei is there to smirk and be like, "What do you mean? Like he's whispering in Trump's ear? Like he's giving him commands?" This is yes. So it's better when somebody else could be sitting there is like, well, wait a minute, you think he's giving him orders? You're like some kind of Manchurian candidate? Like it makes it more comical.
The back and forth.
Yeah, the back and forth. And you can see the person smirk as he's saying this and it makes it better. But he's going to give this case by himself about the collusion stuff. So I'm starting him off in the beginning and I'm going to move him towards the end.
We don't know yet what's in it. We do know what was reported on Friday night, which Anna and John covered on the Young Turks May show, which is that it appears that the reports say that there are going to be no further indictments. The Republicans are overjoyed about this. Well, let me explain why they're wrong about that, and then I'll explain why the Democrats are wrong. And but they say that there might be also more crimes that were possibly mentioned in the report. So, let's start with the Democrats. Why do I think the Democrats are likely wrong about their theory on collusion? Well, if they put all their eggs in the basket of, during the election, Donald Trump called Vladimir Putin, and then Putin called him back, and they said, hey, should we rig the election? Oh, yeah, let's totally rig the election together. Is that what they think? Because that's definitely not what I think. I think that is quite unlikely.
In this moment, Uygur is trying to disassociate himself from mainstream media. Essentially, they're trying to say, we at TYT are somehow different than the mainstream media that is pushing this narrative of Trump and Russia. So, they are pushing this narrative of Trump and Russia that we find to be utterly insane, and we believe that just like you believe that. Like all of you lefties out there that's not buying this Trump and Russia stuff, we don't buy that Trump and Russia stuff either that mainstream media is putting out.
Is that a new stance? Because I thought they were for Russia too.
We just buy another Trump and Russia. That's like, I love this because look, Uygur is running TYT, which considers itself a quote-unquote progressive network. That's their brand. And as a network that considers itself a progressive network, anytime what TYT has done, like a true lefty, like a person who doesn't have to tell you he's a lefty, everybody just knows it, he would say, like when Aaron Matei comes on, he says, him and I are both progressives. It's like, why do you have to tell people that? Like, if it's true, they know it. Like, I don't have to... You have to
make sure everybody understands.
Yeah, I need to tell everybody that I am also, we're deeply progressive also. Like, you don't have to do that when people know that. That's the first point. And if you're running a lefty network, supposedly that should be sacrosanct. It shouldn't be something you have to argue. That's the first point. The second point, there's a certain political casting in the way TYT operates. Meaning they're not just a news show. There's also a politics associated with the news. It's like if you're watching MSNBC, MSNBC is not just a news show. There's a politics associated with the news. There's a bias. TYT would say, well, look, we tell you our bias up front. Fair enough. It's a leftier brand of MSNBC. It's like the rowdier brother of MSNBC. We're a little bit lefty of MSNBC. Now, in them making this sort of brand, he needs to do two things. A, we're different. Because I'm deeply progressive. So we're different. So our difference is we don't buy the Russia stuff in the exact explicit way that the media buys it. We buys it in a slightly different way. So it's not Donald Trump was colluding with Russia in a comic book sense. It's Donald Trump is getting orders from Vladimir Putin because of these political entanglements that's surrounding Donald Trump. So he would say like Donald Trump, like money is being laundered. He would say the Russian oligarchs are laundering money in Donald Trump's properties. Now, it may or may not be true. I don't necessarily care all that much. But he would say this is what is allowing them to get their hooks in Donald Trump and to command Trump's behavior. And it's like, what? And he says, as evidence of that, when Donald Trump went to meet with Vladimir Putin, and Vladimir Putin, they were talking one-on-one, Donald Trump got rid of the interpreters. Okay. That was the time when Vladimir Putin was commanding Donald Trump what to do. Now, Aaron Matei sits there and smirks.
That's convenient.
Yeah, that's, and he's like, there's nothing you can do to make me believe otherwise. It's like, and then he realizes what he's saying is like, oh, well, I mean, if I had my, if somebody could show me the notes. But you just said they pulled away the notes. And it's not unprecedented. Reagan did it with Gorbachev. Is it possible that a president who has leaks left and right may be a little bit sketchy about having notes in this way? Like this is not, this is not necessarily evidence of a grand cover-up of sorts. My basic point is this. He's trying to create a deviation between him and media while at the same token keeping the basic idea of it. So, no, it's not exactly the way mainstream media. We at TYT are different. We're not mainstream media. We just kind of believe it in a different way. A rowdier brother of MSNBC. Let's let him keep going.
And they, if that's not what they think, they certainly made people think that that's what they believe. And so before Mueller's investigation, they put all their eggs in that basket, which is already foolish. And then now, right before it came out, Pelosi said, well, we're not going to do impeachment, unless the Mueller report comes in with something, I guess, devastating, et cetera. She barely even said that, right?
By the way, he's somewhat right on that point. This is, whatever you want to think about it, the political casting that TYT is doing is making sense. This may come across as criticism. It's more so just kind of an announcement of what it is. If you are TYT, you don't necessarily want to take the mainstream media's perspective because you continuously say you're against mainstream media. You have to take something that's different. However, you also don't like Donald Trump. So you need to take a casting that is a deviation from mainstream media so you can attack mainstream media and Donald Trump on this particular point while sticking kind of close to the story. It's not horrible. I mean, from a political standpoint, it makes sense. But that does just mean you're still working with the Russia angle that they were working with a slight deviation. Also, he is right about the Nancy Pelosi thing. For them, all of these groups have put so much strength in the Mueller's investigation. Mueller is this iron jaw guy that is just doing a job. How dare you say this is a political stunt, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then he comes out with something that's against their interests, which means that you've instilled all of this confidence into him. And now that it's against your interests,
you have to denounce.
That confidence doesn't go anywhere. And if people see you try to denounce it, well, you look like an asshole because you just didn't give the answer that you wanted. Let's move this along towards the end. Like I said, this was kind of at the last minute. And I'm going to do my own separate video on this, but I do want to show it.
Convince me that that's a normal thing. Compromising position, but they didn't necessarily. Absolutely not. If Mueller doesn't look into it, that doesn't mean Trump didn't do it. That's insane. And that's why I've been saying for a long time now, oh, damn it, if Mueller didn't look at the money laundering, we're looking at the wrong things. Because a lot of the cooperation, and I think, again, illicit, illegal cooperation between the Trump and the Russians happens well before the election, okay? So then what's collusion after the election? Well, I think the Russians during the election, did they interfere, quote unquote interfere? Yes. Did they do the fake news? Yes. Did they buy those troll farms, do tweets? Yes. But like one report had it at 4 million Twitter impressions. That's nearly nothing. I don't think that's the big deal. If the Democrats think that's the big deal, they're crazy and they're totally making excuses for Hillary Clinton losing. And
that part's true, by the way. That part's completely true. He's right. The number of impressions and all this stuff is nonsense. Hillary Clinton had all of the newspapers across the United States. For the most part, it has every media organization that was input. Not to mention Hillary Clinton bought her own Facebook and Twitter ads, not to mention paying millions of dollars for her own Twitter army. There's no comparison. I mean, they're using this as somewhat of an excuse in order to kind of, just make excuse for Hillary Clinton losing and why they failed to Donald Trump. Let's let him keep going. His thought is money laundering. That's his thought. That Trump was money laundering with the Russians, and now the Russians have their hooks in him and so they can control him. Let's let him keep going. This is his own different conspiracy theory. Is like, if the Democrats think that, they're insane.
Did he say any of this before the Mueller report came out? This is
a month or two before. Well, he started to deviate somewhere along the way. But I don't watch TV like talking about. But initially, he was Trump. He was fully into the Mueller thing. Like initially, that was his position. But his position, I guess he wants to say he's somehow different than mainstream media. Because they think that he was colluding with Russia in the beginning. And also, there's this other thing. Trump didn't think he was going to win the election. Like, so, this idea that Donald Trump was somehow making some kind of deal with the Russians, he didn't think he was going to win the election. Yeah, he thought that at the end, when he failed, he was just going to go back to whatever business deals he was doing. So a lot of this doesn't really fully make sense. But let's let him keep going, because this very specific part of Democrats trying to make excuses for Hillary Clinton losing is correct. Let's let him finish.
Why would the Russians go into that Trump Tower meeting and not give the information about Hillary Clinton? So I think they're trying to put the Trump administration in a compromising position, but they didn't necessarily do that collusion. But I don't know those details. Mueller report's going to have that. We'll find out hopefully in a couple of days, okay? But after the election, Trump goes and has, let alone the things you can see with the naked eye, all the different things where he is helping Russia over the top. Look, I know some of you disagree with that, and I don't want to get back into that gigantic debate, okay? Well, he was against the Russians on one or two things, and he was weirdly, massively in favor of them in unprecedented fashion in 28 different ways. Okay, but you can have that debate, and that's a legitimate debate, okay? But what is not a legitimate debate is Trump.
I'm sorry, that's not a legitimate debate just because you call it such. And the reality of it is, Jake Uger, when he was confronted about this with NRM, he fell apart. You can name like 10 different items, some of which are putting the United States on the precipice of a war. Like, so, the INF Treaty, getting rid of the INF Treaty. This part of the reason that we had those treaties in place was it gives us space. Like, if it takes 12 minutes before anything can happen between us, then at the very least, I have the time to communicate with you to figure out whether or not it's something that's big. Because otherwise, I get 30 seconds to figure out whether or not the weapon that's coming over is a nuclear weapon, or whether or not that airship that's coming over is going to drop some kind of munitions. Right. Those treaties allowed a certain amount of space for the countries to interact with one another without those interactions, taking out the certainty of it to some degree. But Trump has a list of these, where he's doing things that the Russians in no way wanted, that was completely against the interests of the Russian government. But Uger doesn't give them. I give you, like, for example, Nerf bombs. I call Nerf bomb Uger. I call him Nerf bomb Uger and deride him in this way because the United States bombed Syria. Now, Uger looks and says, "Oh, that was a friendly bombing," and you're like, the United States invades another country and drop bombs on that country, and you think that country is going to regard that as a quote-unquote friendly bombing? That's nonsense. But he says stuff like that. All of it is looked through this narrow window of Trump and Russia. meaning everything is within the context of that. So it doesn't matter what takes place. Bombings become friendly bombings. You know, getting rid of INF treaties becomes, you know, something Russia wanted in this kind of 5-dimensional chess way.
Yeah.
It's nonsense. It's utter nonsense. And then he said, oh, those sanctions, because they didn't put the sanctions. And you kind of make this point, why on earth would Donald Trump want to put in sanctions that gets across the idea that Donald Trump didn't win the election purely of the steam of Donald Trump? I mean, some of this, like, but he doesn't, all of it is put in the context of Donald Trump had something to do with Russia. So he goes and has
meetings with the Russians. And again, there are many examples, but I'm giving you one of them here. Or with Vladimir Putin himself. And he won't allow any other American officials into those meetings. He literally takes the American translator's notes from out of his hand in one of those meetings and won't let him talk about it. In the others, he doesn't allow the American translator into the meeting with Putin in the first place. Unprecedented. Crazy. And no force on earth is going, unless you have actual recordings or the translator, right, is going to convince me that that's a normal thing.
Reagan had private communications with Gorbachev. Now, the reason that Cenk doesn't see this is he sees this as unprecedented, again, because in his head, Donald Trump is receiving orders from Vladimir Putin. That's the argument he's making. This is not me putting words in his mouth. He's making the argument that Trump is receiving orders from Vladimir Putin, which is the reason why they didn't want anybody else in the room. And the question becomes, but to what end, Cenk? Like, in what do you believe Donald Trump has been doing that has been undermining America from the standpoint of the things that Russia wanted America to do?
Right.
And I guarantee you, there's not a lot of things on that list. It's not a lot of items on that list. And you can hear Cenk argue with Aaron Matei to figure out, you know, to hear, let's say somebody push back on this in the moment and to kind of smirk when somebody is being told. You think he's you think he's being told? Yes, I think he's giving orders. Oh, okay, good. I don't want to be disrespectful to laugh about that. Yeah, I just want to clarify that to the people who are watching. Go for it.
Bob Ramirez, a little bit off topic, says he's still waiting on the Jamarl Reacts to the Expanse video series. Didn't we try to watch that the other day?
Yeah, we did. I thought we did. I watched the first season. I remember the show.
Maybe on the Black Box, you can cover that. Oh, never mind. There are things under works in the background for the Aggressive Soapbox.
Thanks, Joe Biden.
I am.
All right, Joe Biden. What's the next topic?
Clyde illusion. Damn it. Why won't you read my comments, Jamal? Because I'm white and not bribing you with money?
That's it.
That's it, exactly.
Yep.
Clyde. Go, Clyde.
I don't read trolls.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I ignore trolls.
All right, so we've got just over 200 people. Before we go to the next topic, just do the patrons spiel in case you were not here when we first got started. Of course, this is the weekly patron appreciation show. Throughout the week, Jamal does videos on whatever the hell he wants to do. He likes to take one show of the week geared towards what supporters want. So honestly, it's more than one show. I'm just joking.
You guys don't know, but a lot of they should know. I do a lot of content that users send me because, you know, if I do a show and people like that show, if they like the show, then to some degree there's some wavelength that I'm on that they are also on. So oftentimes they send me stuff and I
specific show. So if you are a patron or if you are contributing through Streamlabs, which you need to pull up now because I think we got a Streamlabs. If you are contributing through Streamlabs, PayPal, or Super Chat and would like to give topic suggestions for this weekly show, please make sure that you do those. You can send them with your contribution or separately in an email to Jamal. Once the video live stream is finished, it will go down and it will be available only to patrons. So thank you for watching if you're tuning in and you're not a patron, but it will only be available for them afterwards.
Yes.
If you're not a patron, consider becoming a patron. Little as once $1 a month contribution will get you a patron slot. And a patron slot will get you
we'll make you a member,
patron status. Yeah. I don't know. We're trying to, of course, in addition to the show, push more content to Patreon.
Yes.
I am trying to remind Jamal every time he pushes content to send a notification out and say, hey, patrons, log in. I just put a video on. Sometimes that doesn't always happen, but that's great. If you're not contributing, I think monetarily,
they don't get an automatic heads up.
No.
When I post something, it doesn't get an automatic post.
No.
I don't know about that.
If you're not contributing monetarily, thank you for being here. Your support is still very appreciated, of course.
And please like the video.
Please like the video, share, make sure you are subscribed. If you are just tuning in and did not hear today's big announcement, while we were starting up the show and Jamal was getting all the tech stuff, we noticed that, drum roll, I can't do a drum roll, but Jamal has officially hit 20,000 subscribers. So that was nice to find out today.
Yeah,
so
that was
he
nice.
Still has not decided what he wants to do for 20,000
Well,
subscribers.
I thought I had another 2 weeks.
I suggested the marathon. If you guys like that, let us know. If you have a suggestion, let us know.
I wanted to do a live show. I still want to do a live show. I just don't know how to do it. But my thought was a live broadcast somewhere.
You mean a live in-person show.
In-person
Not
show.
just a live show, because you do live shows.
Yeah, right. A live in-person show.
In-person show.
Like a studio audience. Like a, but see, it can't be a large studio audience. It has to be, also, I don't know how I would respond to that. I get a little weird in the crowds. And I know this sounds weird. This goes out to a lot of people, but ultimately that I'm the only person in the room. Right.
Yeah.
I get weirded out when my wife is in the room when I'm doing my doing the news.
Garden Gnome says, I want to see Aisha take a bong rip for the 20K view show.
Can you do that? I don't know if that's legal on
That's not gonna happen.
Well, wait a minute. Can we do it on?
Can we do
on YouTube?
Can I?
Not you. I'm just saying. Can
bong on YouTube and not go to jail or lose my job?
Well, I'm
or
also
get banned, or they take the video down.
Yeah, right.
Or you get dinged.
Because I don't want them to be like, Mr. Thomas, you can't do bong hits on camera.
Can we guarantee that all of that is not going to happen?
Wait a minute. So Streamlabs, BCM,
it's highly illegal
BCM
on
Falls.
Oh,
somebody says highly illegal on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. BCM Falls. Thank you. I appreciate it. Leave a comment, BCM. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It is a big help for the show.
Somebody named Kills for a Living.
Yeah. Hashtag loser Jank proved himself useless. He jumped out the window so many times during this Russia BS. TYT is trash can news outlet. They robbed people out of $2 million with that reporter scam. Jank won't talk about that though. So what he's talking about, do you remember when TYT came out and they said they were going to have reporters and say donate so you can get reporters. We're going to have reporters all throughout the United States. We're going to have people, investigating this and that. We're going to be on point. We're not just going to be an outlet who's giving an opinion. We're going to be actually making news. And they had Jordan Sheridan, and they brought on, what's her name? The one that's trying to run for the New York position now, Nomi Kantz. They brought on, I think it was like 2 or 3 others, Michael Tracy and somebody else. Jordan and Tracy were extraordinary. And I even like Nomi. She was really good at doing the job there also. They raised $2 million. That's what they were trying to raise. And the thought was, with this $2 million, we're going to have these reporters. Now, my question was, aren't you going to have to raise $2 million every year?
Right, how are you going to continuously pay for these reporters?
Right, because that's your first salary, right, a year. How are you going to pay for it for year 2, 3, and 4? Or is the $2 million the salary for, let's say, maybe 2 or 3 years, and but however you do it. But within a year, though, they fired all of them. All of them. And it's one by one. And if I'm not mistaken, it's like before the year was out. And Nomi, comes out and she gives this heartbroken message that kind of gotten across. Okay, I didn't want to really leave, but they fired me. I had to leave. They gave me my walking papers. And in addition to going on this kind of just firing spree where they fired, members of the company.
Yeah.
So, but the reporters themselves, though, that was the rough part. Because Tracy was a fucking awesome reporter.
Anthony Reyes says, for fuck's sake, look how much Jordan Sheridan covers with limited funds.
Yeah.
He says he
Status
made
quo.
TYT Politics.
Well, TYT Politics, that was his channel, if you remember.
Yeah, Darren says they were all better than Cenk and Anna. That's why they had to go.
I'm trying to say they were making him look bad. No, Jordan was really good. I mean, Jordan shed light on the water crisis thing. Like, he still covers that, by the way, the water crisis. But he shed light on that.
Flynn.
He was covering the riots, the protests. He was all over the place. TYT Politics was essentially made by Jordan Sheridan. In fact, a story that Jordan Sheridan was covering when he ran up on Donna Brazile, and he was like, why did you why did you send the email? And she was looking at him like a deer in the headlights, and Jordan was kind of roughing up on her. It was like, is it true that you sent an email? Were the WikiLeaks documents correct? I mean, did you pass those questions on to Hillary Clinton, et cetera, et cetera? And she's like, young man, you've never read my emails. We've all read your emails, Donna Brazile. Why did you hand the email? Why did you hand the documents? And Donna Brazile was like a deer in the headlights. Now, TYT ran that story again recently because Donna Brazile is now going to be working with Fox News.
But they didn't mention Jordan.
They didn't mention Jordan
at all.
And they
How
didn't
does
even
that
show the
go?
video. If you remember when I did that story and I said Donna Brazile is going to be working for Fox News, holy shit. What did I do that came natural? Oh, here's a video where George Sheridan ran up on Donna Brazile, and now Donna Brazile is joining the network. They were hands off on that video. They were hands off. That video was the most natural thing in the world to show Donna Brazile being harassed by Jordan. As a young man, you've never read my emails. You've never read my emails, sir. At the end of the day, she was a company woman.
Yeah.
She knew who her allegiance was to. I can appreciate that. Like, don't get me wrong, it's massively corrupt. This person who's fired from CNN for being massively corrupt was not corrupt enough to not get the job working for the head of the DNC. But she understood who she represented. From the standpoint of somebody who's like, look, I'm a Democrat. That's what I am. Yes, I'm working for this network, but I'm a Democrat. And you could even say the world is better with us in charge, and this is just the way the world is. Like, you can justify it to yourself. Like, if you're Donna Brazile and you say, I need Hillary Clinton to win this race because I think Donald Trump is a clear and present threat. And you can take the Batman approach to it and go further and say, Donald Trump can't be president, and I need to do everything in my power to do this. And this cause is higher than ethical standards itself. That's a fucking fascinating concept, right? To say that I'm going to break rules and laws in going about this approach, but at the end of the day, the outcome is a better result. Is she right? Think about what I'm saying here. Imagine for the moment if Adolf Hitler was going to become president of the United States. And I'm not saying Trump is Hitler. I'm just giving an analogy. This is an analogy. And you, working in whatever capacity you worked in, knew that this was a maniac. You say, I read his manifesto. He is going to do some horrible shit if he gets in power. In your capacity as somebody who, let's say, a person who's in the opposing party, and you're in a news outlet working as a contributor, and you got your hands on the debate questions, and you know that your candidate needs to do good. Because at this point, you think this is Hitler, and everything that you do...
If I'm stopping Hitler,
you have to stop Hitler.
It's fair game.
So everything that you do serves the ends of stopping Hitler by helping this person win that race. Do you hand her the debate questions? It's against the rules. It's against ethics.
But she's got to beat Hitler.
So the answer is yes.
Is that true? Maybe.
You gotta stop Hitler, right? I guess I'm getting frame of mind. Like if this is Donna Brazile's frame of mind, but understand what that means. If this is Comey's frame of mind, if this is Peter Strzok's frame of mind, if this is Lisa Page's frame of mind, if this is all these people who are working in all of these various agencies' frame of mind, if this is Loretta Lynch's frame of mind, why wouldn't these people do whatever they can within the rule set that they have available to them to help Clinton win that race?
I think they would.
So from her standpoint, she's being confronted on this stuff now. Why did you pass the questions? Why did you pass the questions? Why did you pass the questions? And the honest answer is, look, I thought he was the worst fucking thing on the planet, and I wanted to help my person win. That's the honest answer.
But you can't say that.
You can't say that. Fuck, I love politics, man. I love politics. Because ultimately what they're working on is they can't be honest about some of the shit that comes up. It's fucking phenomenal. Yeah.
All right, can we go to the next?
Yeah, we
topic?
can do that. Okay. All right. So this is fucking
right.
phenomenal. Wait a minute. We were talking about something, and then we ended up. Oh, you were going through telling people thank you or something like that.
I was doing the patron appreciation spiel, but we had to read the Streamlabs.
Oh, that's what it was. Streamlabs, and because I'm trying to figure out why we
got back that because the comments and this took us there.
That's what it was. The chink thing. God, you went on a tangent there.
Yeah, that's exactly what the fuck just happened. Okay, go back to this one. All right, so we're going to get into the next topic like we talked about before. If you are a patron, there is a post that goes out weekly to patrons that gives you the opportunity to put your topic suggestions, and it'll say, hey, don't forget, next patron appreciation will be this Sunday 1 p.m. leave your comments or topics below, and that's where we pull the information from there and other parts of Patreon. So one of this week's most recent suggestions was actually something that I wanted to talk about anyway, so that was perfect. But Renee Tudyk, I think, please forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your name, shared an article on New Zealand and their ban on semi-automatic weapons. So, of course, hopefully all of you know that last week on Friday, the 15th, there was a massacre in New Zealand, the Christchurch mosque shootings, two different mosques. Two different shootings took place with a total of 50 lives taken. The attacks began at the Al Noor Mosque in the suburb of Riccarton at 1:40 p.m. and continued at the Linwood Islamic Center at about 1:55 p.m. It injured 50, and I think the final death toll was 50 individuals as well. 6 days after, New Zealand's Prime Minister came out and said, we're going to ban assault rifles or automatic weapons.
I thought you backed away from that.
Well, that's what we reported on, or that's what we talked about last week, was the difference between conversations on banning guns in the United States and other countries like New Zealand.
Yeah.
6 days after she came out and was like, we got to do a ban. Now, they did kind of pull back a little bit. She didn't completely back away from it, but she did say, or there was some talk that it is, even though it's easier to have the conversations there than it is here, it's not that cut and dry, so it might not go through. But the fact that she came out about it 6 days and was clear and said, we need a ban on these type of automatic weapons.
I think that was her knee-jerk reaction.
Right, and I think that it spoke
like an honest. They always say the emotional response is the most honest one. That's who you are. Like that's the very basis of your nature.
Yeah.
And something happens, and you have this knee-jerk emotional response. This is what I think is true. And then later on, it's like, oh fuck, the politics.
Yeah,
is gonna
we
be
gotta.
different.
Or some people are gonna, But if you didn't see the video, log in to your Patreon and check out last week's video, because we did kind of cover this.
We're gonna have to find a way to cut those in some way to let people know what's what topic.
Well, I think putting the timestamps in the videos would be great.
That might help. Yeah.
That's why I see other YouTube people do when there's a long video. But we talked about it in detail last week when she initially came out about it. And just as a quick update, they did come out and announce they will officially be banning automatic weapons, and the pieces that can be put on to weapons to modify them to be automatic weapons. And so there's a clip. It is in the description box below if you want to watch the video. But just really quickly, the article here: Prime Minister of New Zealand to ban military-style semi-automatic weapons after the Christchurch massacre.
You want to play it?
Yeah, we can play. It's pretty quick.
This attack on Friday will be banned.
Oh, for the American audience, the guy in the back doing sign language, he's doing sign language. They do that. You didn't think that was funny? The guy in the back doing sign language is doing sign language.
No, we didn't. We didn't need that announcement. I think everybody that's watching knows that he's fucking doing sign language. Play the video.
Wait a minute, hold on.
Americans, you idiots need to know that these people are doing sign language. We know they're fucking doing sign language.
My point is this: they do that in other countries. Like they have like the people doing the sign language. This has become somewhat of a normal in their countries when they're giving government announcements. They're lefty governments. Oftentimes, even when they're right-wing governments, they're lefty governments. I love this. I always find this to be amazing when I see it because it's always jarring to me.
Yeah, okay.
But it's a normal part of their discourse. Think about it. In America, we're like, we don't care if they can...
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
In this country.
I thought this was a
Today I'm announcing that New Zealand will ban all military-style semi-automatic weapons. We will also ban all assault rifles. We will ban all high-capacity magazines. We will ban all parts with the ability to convert semi-automatic or any other type of firearm into a military-style semi-automatic weapon. We will ban parts that cause a firearm to generate semi-automatic, automatic, or close to automatic gunfire. In short, every semi-automatic weapon used in the terrorist attack on Friday will be banned in this country.
Pretty much sums it up. Everything,
God, I love that,
is banned.
You have no idea how much I love that. Like, it's not even, how can I explain it? I fucking love that video. That video makes me euphoric. It's not even so much for what they're doing. She is clear and unequivocal as a collective, as a society, who've had something happen in that society that was horrendous, like unspeakable. You're talking about, look, if your society doesn't cater to human life, what does it cater to, right? Like, if human life isn't a thing that's of top paramount, and I don't mean human life, just human life even in the sense of those people being able to live within the context of a larger society, meaning all of us here together under whatever this kind of this substrate is of this intellectual agreements that make this a government and a society. And if something happens that is horrendous in your society, and you guys come together and say, okay, we're going to do this to deal with it, and the fact that 50 people gets eliminated from the face of the other in one moment, and she's saying, we are going to do this, 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 and this. Clear, unequivocal. We're getting rid of this. 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 Us, as a unit, as a collective, are doing this to try to address this horrendous thing that happened. And not pussyfooting about. Like, literally doing this. Now, I would ask deeper questions. Like, what caused it in the first place? How do you get to the root of it? But New Zealand is not one of those countries where this happens all the time. They're not the United States. This is not a common occurrence. So for them, it's like, all right, how do we stop this since this is not something that typically happens here? This is like, yeah, I love that.
I like the fact that they came out immediately and was like, we need to ban.
It's definitive. Like,
and then she came out and there's no
hedge.
Right. There's no question on what she's saying.
Hillary Clinton, are you for fracking? I'm for it in this situation, and that situation. And if in this technical situation, it's on a Tuesday, then maybe. As opposed to, yes. I guess the clarity. There's no hedge in that. I mean, you could say, well, maybe they're changing what they mean by automatic. I don't think that's happening at all. This is not language that's used to deceive. This is language to use to affirm this is what we are going to do. I love that. I love that. I love that.
Just to continue, the last part of the article down at the bottom says, Parliament is hoping to create a buyback scheme in which gun owners will be compensated for returning their weapons. Arden said weapon sales should now cease and expects stores to return their firearms stock to suppliers. The Prime Minister told gun owners to visit the New Zealand police website to fill out a form to turn in their weapons, stressing that they not show up unannounced to a police station with their firearms. Small Arms Survey estimates that 1.2 million firearms belong to civilians in New Zealand. About 15,000 of those are what the country calls military-style semi-automatic rifles. New Zealand's gun laws have been incredibly lax up until this point, especially compared with neighboring Australia. Police minister says owning a firearm is a privilege and not a right in New Zealand. That's one of the things that we talked about last week. I think the reason that this struck a nerve with me is because of the vast difference between this conversation that takes place in New Zealand and how this shit happens in the United States.
Yeah.
A lot of the people that I saw commenting were like, this is what happens when your NRA isn't, knee deep in your politics. It's an honest conversation.
About guns.
About gun control or about banning, semi-automatic. And it's not necessarily just banning all guns, but, what does the average person need a semi-automatic rifle for?
Is it fair that other people lose it because one or two people do something wrong with it? Like, I'm asking somewhat of a different question. New Zealand doesn't necessarily have situations where these things happen all the time.
Right.
And is the argument just there's certain things that individuals shouldn't have access to, that the larger collective community can say we don't think people should have access to because of the crime or the possibility that the havoc that can be caused. Like, people shouldn't get access to nuclear bombs. Like, one individual shouldn't be able to say, I want to have a nuclear bomb in my backyard.
Right.
That's problematic. If that thing blows up, it kills millions of people, and we can't take the chance for that to happen. Do guns fit into that category? Like, at least those type of guns. And if those guns fit into the category, why not other guns? Like, do you understand my question?
I understand what you're saying.
Like, if that's not something that tends to happen in New Zealand, something that doesn't happen all the time. This is like once out of a God knows how long. But it's once too much. And once enough of a sense of saying, okay, we can't allow this to take place, so we need to get rid of this effect. Because that's the conversation we're having, right? Like, one group saying, look, this hardly ever happens here. So why are you punishing me for something that this other guy did? Like, this guy comes out and kills a million people. Something, this guy's off. Maybe he's racist. Maybe he's a loon. Whatever. But should I, who's just a good, decent gun owner, be penalized for something that this other person is doing? Because understand, if that answer is yes, then isn't that same argument true for all guns?
I see what you're saying.
Because this guy can kill 50, that's true, but this guy with a regular handgun can also kill, let's say, 15. Is 15 too much? In the same way that 50 is too much. Are you for the banning of all guns? I mean, like, that. Honestly, is that not what we're talking about? Like, if the prime minister is going to come out, and I'm not against this, by the way. I'm just asking this secondary question that has to come from this. If the prime minister says 50 is too much,
I think that the difference is, why own a gun. A lot of people say for personal protection. Okay, I understand that. What are you protecting yourself from that you need a semi-automatic rifle? Right. So I
that's
think
essentially military hardware.
Right. It is, and that I think is the question. I think that's the difference. You know what I mean? Like, it's not
one
saying
is personal protection and the other one is in Afghanistan.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, what are you realistically doing with one versus the other?
Yeah.
We're not seeking to ban all, but just to be clear, the opposition party in New Zealand is for this as well.
No fucking way.
Yeah, that was in
both
the
agree.
Of the article.
That means that the public itself has essentially said, okay, because if the opposition party is saying, we're not going to fight them on this, we're not going to create a fight over this particular issue, then for the most part, their politics is not as jaded as ours. Like, because in our politics, one party comes out and says we should give prayers, and the other party comes out and says we should also give prayers. So you almost have this similar agreement, even though there's strains within the Democratic Party that says, we need to ban these. And you might have some strains in the party that says ban all weapons. The Republican Party, there's nothing to talk about here. We don't need to talk about anything. We just need to offer our prayers and not, stop Americans in their freedom. That Second Amendment was there for more so for slave patrols. It's coded in this thing of the Second Amendment and militias and all this other stuff. But ultimately, they were concerned about slave rebellions and Native American rebellions because they were pacifying a Native American population. This whole idea of needing the second your weapon, and everybody had to have a gun. If I'm not mistaken, by law, people had to have guns in certain areas of the frontier because Native Americans. They were a pacifying population. It's kind of like in Israel. Remember, you're seeing all those people with guns, and you were like, why do they need those guns? And you were like, oh, right, because we're on somebody else's land, and they want their land back. It was the same thing in the United States. That Second Amendment was literally there because they were pacifying a Native American population, and they were ensuring that the slaves were intact. We're still plagued with that shit today over the legacy of slavery in this respect. Isn't that fucking amazing? Like, from a historical standpoint, like, the things, like when people say, oh, we have nothing to do with that, I wasn't around during that time. As if things that weren't around historically have no effect on things now. Everything that we're doing is some kind of historical after effect. Mm-hmm. Every genome that was in you, your mom, your great-grandfather, goes all the way back down. There's aspects of them that find themselves in you. This kind of genetic memory. You might have the nose of an ancestor that goes back, God knows how many generations. Even in technology. Like, the thing that allowed this to be made, whatever that machine, whatever that tool, whatever that stuff was, knowledge had to go through time in order for that person to get to that point today. Not to mention the materials themselves that were made. Maybe there was a microchip in the machine that was used to, you know what I mean? All that knowledge for the most part expansive. So it's fascinating. It does it in intellectual terms, it also does it in physical terms. All right, sorry.
Nice.
Go for it.
That was it. That was my update. Just at the official ban.
God, that's amazing, right? I gotta be honest, I'm fascinated by that. We don't have that in our politics. I mean, in an odd way, we don't have that in our politics in an affirmative way like that, where they said, we're going to do this, and they just agree upon it and do it. Like, I'm trying to think of something, maybe the opposite of this. Like if somebody came on and said, hey, let's see, that's an affirmative. I don't know an affirmative thing that all of them just outright agree on in that way where XYZ is going to change immediately. Like even healthcare. Maybe a tax cut. But they don't have public support. The difference here is the public supported a policy and the political apparatus was attuned to that policy. And they implemented something that they all went for. Like I'm blown away by that. It's fucking amazing. All right.
Just a quick update. So our next topic
Sanders.
Is actually another one from
We're going to do Sanders.
Noam Chomsky.
We're going to do Sanders.
Oh, okay. Where's your 4?
What do you mean?
Where's number 4?
We skipped it.
Oh.
Yeah. Let's go to this
I
one.
guess you can do that when you run the show. Just randomly decide you're going to skip shit.
Yes. I do that all the time.
All right. So our next topic, Sanders campaign came out and announced that they will be
Go for it.
maybe not the only campaign, but they are
This was
officially
yesterday,
the
right?
first campaign to announce promise to offset carbon emissions. Is that a picture of Bernie Sanders in the airplane?
It is.
What airline is that?
It's probably he probably has a campaign plane.
Can you see that? Bernie in the window.
Yeah.
Bernie on the
I put him
plane.
over here. Cut. Wait.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Ooh, that's not right.
What is happening?
There we go. Babe. Go.
Oh, this is your story. I
This
just
is your
pulled it
story.
up.
I thought you
No.
gave the story.
No.
You gave the story your list. This wasn't your story?
No.
Then why do I even know about this?
I found it and sent it to you, and you're like, "Holy shit!"
Oh, so it was a story that you found, that you told the audience just
And
now. That
I
you
didn't know
find.
that I was reporting on this. Reporting. I keep using that word kind of
It's okay. They're just stenographers too.
casually.
All right. So I'll do the story then. Since
Thank you.
You
All I know is that Sanders' campaign manager, I mispronounce his name all the time, so I need you to pull that up.
Bernie Sanders' campaign
What's
becomes 2020's first to promise offset carbon emissions. What it boils down to is Bernie Sanders. He isn't the first campaign to ever do this, but he's going to offset his carbon emissions of the campaign. So them flying around in the plane, them driving from point A to point B, and everything else. They're going to essentially pay, I guess, for something to offset the energy usage with, you can say, green energy. It's like a trade-off of sorts.
The campaign said it plans to fund renewable energy projects to compensate for the carbon dioxide spewed by the planes and automobiles in which Sanders and his staff will travel while they barnstorm the nation ahead of the DNC convention in July of 2020. So we acknowledge that we're going to be doing a lot of polluting.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're going to try to offset that polluting by buying into some new renewable energy, right?
But that's weird. Wait a minute. Let me read this again. Because it sounds weird to me now that I'm reading it, even though I understand why they're saying this. Again, this is one of those political dodges.
It sounds like they're
trying not to be hypocrites. Because Republicans are going to say, these guys want to do a green energy deal, and they're flying around on an airplane. They should just be driving from point A to point B. Now, this is a stupid
using
argument.
Horses, because automobiles pollute too.
But this is a stupid argument. I mean, do you really need to offset this, or do you just deal with the fact that they're making a stupid argument? When Tucker Carlson makes this argument, and you're like, what? It's like, you understand that you're still living within this system. Like, I may want to change the way the system is, but I am still living within the system.
Right.
How am I going to get from, California to Virginia
Walk.
to tell you that we need to do something different and change the way the system is so I don't have to fly this gas-spewing plane? Is the way to really deal with this to offset? I mean, it's somewhat of a nonsense argument, and they're doing somewhat of a nonsense thing to offset. How do you offset carbon pollution?
Well, what did they say they were going to do?
I guess, I'm reading it. They're paying the green energy thing. I guess I'm making the point that, is this really offsetting?
Is it not? I mean, isn't it better than nothing?
It's better than nothing. I'm making a point that the Republicans' argument is nonsense. And it's possible that they're doing a nonsense thing in order to deal with a nonsense argument. Is it more straightforward to just make the point that argument is nonsense and that the reason that I have to get on this gas-spewing plane is because our system is the way it is? Meaning, do you just point to the fact that the system is fucked up, which is why I have to be on this plane, as opposed to catering to the Republicans' argument of, we're not being hypocrites, we're doing... Because you're not being a hypocrite. Because you don't have any choice to do anything else. There's no alternative. It's not a situation of, okay, I can take this jet that doesn't spew pollutants, and I choose not to. It's, I take the only jet available that gets me from point A to point B. That's not me being a hypocrite. That's me not having a choice but to use this. I guess that's what I'm getting at. In a statement to HuffPost, the campaign said it planned to fund energy projects to compensate for the... Maybe that's my problem. There is no offshoot. There is no such thing as offshoot. They're just putting money into renewable products.
Well, okay, so let me read this. The Sanders campaign is buying carbon offsets from Vermont-based Native Energy, the same company Clinton used 3 years ago. Now, if you go back, in 2016, Hillary Clinton's Democratic presidential campaign vowed to buy carbon offsets after a conservative political action committee backing Republican Jeb Bush attacked the former Secretary of State for riding in a private jet that burned 387 gallons of fuel per hour. So that's why Sanders' campaign is buying this carbon stuff from this company.
But what's a carbon offset?
Native Energy provides third-party verification of how its offsets are used and boasts a high score as a benefit corporation, a sort of LEED certification for for-profit companies that pay employees decent wages and provide measurable value to society.
Okay, well, wait a minute. So, and I don't mean to be critical of this. I find that the original argument that's causing all of this seems to be nonsense. Like, they're doing all of this just to deal with a bullshit argument the Republicans are making about, would the company have used that carbon offset anyway? Like, if you're doing something, and whatever you're doing it in a green energy way, wouldn't you still be doing it anyway? How are you offsetting something that's going to take place anyway? Wouldn't that be, instead of this person taking this jet, this person is now going to take a boat that doesn't burn? I guess I don't understand the offset thing. The offset sounds weird to me.
Wait, is it the verbiage?
But it's their verbiage, but I don't know what they mean by offset. How are you just investing in the projects that are clean energy projects? And that's what they're considering this kind of intangible offset? I don't know, man. I just find this argument to be torture. That's all. Like, I've heard Tucker Carlson make this argument. I thought the argument was stupid when Tucker Carlson was making it. Do you need to, and maybe he's looking at it as, I want to get rid of any attack that may come my way. But the person who this attack is appeasing to is not a person you're going to get anyway, right? Like, is there any...
Well, you saw this. Hillary Clinton attacked Republicans in 2016.
Republicans attacked Hillary Clinton for it. But Hillary Clinton...
backwards.
Yeah, Republicans attacked Hillary Clinton for the green energy stuff because she was talking about green energy.
I got you.
But Hillary Clinton was a hypocrite on green energy. Like, Hillary Clinton was supporting fracking around the world. Like, so from her standpoint, you attacking her saying she's been a hypocrite. She's been a hypocrite with regards to policy. She is. Her jumping from place to place on a jet, that may be something she has to do to lie about her policy. But she has been a hypocrite. Sanders is not.
So the Sanders campaign is saying we are committed
to green energy, right?
To green energy.
So much so.
Even though we're doing all this jet setting, we are making strides
to offset the carbon that we're using.
Right.
I guess I don't understand the offset. That's all. Maybe I'm misunderstanding the offset. Is he offsetting the stuff that he's eating too? Well, green energy. I mean, if you remember, half of climate change is animal agriculture.
Yeah.
Meaning the eating of cows and pigs and chickens and all this other stuff. Is Bernie Sanders becoming a vegetarian for this? Which is something he can choose, by the way. Or is Bernie Sanders going to have the carbon that him and his campaign crew are eating offset also? Whatever offset means. Is Bernie Sanders being a hypocrite?
That's a smaller issue than
50% of climate change is
Isn't Bernie Sanders a vegetarian?
I have no idea.
Well, I think he
I have no idea.
probably is.
I'm not shitting on
He's
Sanders.
that good of an American.
On this, I'm more so. I don't think you have to cater to every ridiculous argument. That's all. That's all. I find this argument to be tortured and rather stupid. When Tucker Carlson and I don't think much of people who make it, if I'm being honest.
Okay. All right, moving on.
All right. I saw this. I'm like, what the hell do they mean by offset? I don't understand what they mean by offset. How do you offset that? Unless they're coming up with this idea of offset by the amount of money that's being dumped into a particular thing. But this one was more funny to me. Oh, unless it's this. Unless they're talking about investing in
Carmen, you want to read that?
Yeah, all right, let's flip over. Because I really want to know what this offset means. Carbon offsets represent a drop in a bucket on an issue that requires unprecedented systemic change to avert climate disaster. But transportation emissions make up the largest share of the United States climate pollution. Sanders' announcement steals the campaign's accusation of hypocrisy often made by Republicans who take an ideological stance against climate change realities. Yeah, but the argument is stupid. I mean, what choice does Sanders have? It's like, oh, he has a choice of just kind of doing campaign speeches and not going to these places. That's utter nonsense. Let's see. Sanders' campaign is buying carbon offsets, right? Carbon emissions from campaign, right? In 2000, right? Go carbon neutral. John Edwards following rush to put themselves on a carbon diet, right? I'm trying to figure out, we're proud, fight climate change, right? They're just saying offsets. Like, they say offsets like everyone knows what that is.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it gives like a clear, definitive XYZ.
Because if they're talking about from an energy place, let's say like some kind of green energy place is producing energy, and so they're buying money from it, but they're going to use that anyway. I don't quite get what they mean by offsets. Unless they mean, a tree is being planted to offset the amount of carbon and suck up the carbon. Like, I don't know what they mean by this offsets.
Darren Levy says Sanders is pandering to the growing eco vote, which has been co-opted by Al Gore doomsday foretelling the world ending.
But he should. He just making coalition. I'm just saying for my own edification, I don't know what the carbon thing means. Like, they're just saying carbon offsets. It's like, what does that mean? How do you offset carbon? This sounds like nonsense. Like, I know, like, other places can buy carbon credits. I even heard of that. Like, you can get a certain amount of credits, but afterwards you have to, like, buy carbon credits from other people. Like, that type of stuff. But I don't really know what that means. Unless you are lessening the amount of carbon that's going into the atmosphere, or you're finding maybe a carbon sink. Something that sucks up carbon. Like, you're planting enough trees. Like, for instance, let's say you're planting trees. And they say, Sanders running around the country is going to cost this much in regards to carbon. This is how much pollution Sanders is going to put out. You give an estimate. And then you simultaneously says, all right, then we need to find something that can suck up this amount of carbon. In which case, we're going to plant this number of trees in order to suck up this amount of carbon. So even though we've been flying around, technically it's a net zero because we've sucked up that much carbon.
Offset.
Right. Is that what they mean?
Fuck that. That's all the information we got. The more that we dig in, the more
I'm going to look this up.
Like foolishness.
Well, I don't know what it means. I mean, I suppose just saying carbon offset is enough to kind of shut people up, but I don't know what that means.
Xavier Foster said Sanders is BSing all of you. Plant trees to build soapboxes. Winslow says, yes, that's what carbon offset means.
That's what that is? Isn't there a finite line to that? And shouldn't you just offset? Like, if you have the capacity to do this, why not just do this?
Just do it.
But I guess you could say, well, the capacity to do this is created by the money that the person is spending on it. But fuck's sake. I mean, like, there's a finite amount that you can do this. Like, they're not, where are they planting these trees? My wife gave me this thing for Christmas. I'm sorry. This just seems like BS to me. I don't know why, but this feels like BS to me. I think my issue with this is this. I have this thing about people being honest, like truth. Not necessarily in everyday life. I understand people lie in regards to grease the wheels between each other. But in the political space, when we're having these conversations, I kind of want a certain degree of honesty. There may be something to this carbon sink stuff, but the argument that is getting him to do this is such nonsense. And it's nonsense in a way where it just seems easier to just say, well, we currently still live in this world, so we're trying to change the world the way it is, where we don't have to use these technologies that are grossly polluting, but in the meantime, we're stuck with this. So yes, Senator Sanders is using this because Senator Sanders wants to get his message across in a timely fashion, so but we are trying to change these particular things. Now, Sanders' point is we just said carbon offsets, but I don't know, man. I don't like this. I hate this argument, or I hate them doing this for this reason. If they were going to do this just to do it, fair enough, but god damn it.
Gino Choi says carbon credits are an artificial permit system that trades permission to pollute that are traded in a market.
That's the carbon credit stuff that Democrats push sometimes.
ID Warp says carbon offset is a system to shift responsibility for pollution around. It's more akin to money laundering than forestation. Than foresting.
Than adding trees, yeah. Oh man, I understand why he's doing it. I'm not attacking Sanders for it. And by the way, it's not a bad thing. I am perfectly okay with him doing this. I don't want that to be the thing. My annoyance more so is the argument that is pushing him to do this. I think the argument that's pushing him to do this is like nonsense.
You're supposed to be for green energy and you're on a plane.
Yeah. And it's like, how am I supposed to get to the campaign stuff? That's not the point, buddy.
Bike.
I'm just trying to get a stupid audience to bite. All right, so let's go to Kellyanne Conway. Whether Kellyanne Conway is resigning. I thought this one was awesome. This story tripped me out, man.
Okay, so really quick, while you're doing that, can I just to segue into this story. So, with all of my weird issues going on, we were at the doctor's office on Wednesday. I had a 4-hour study where we were just sitting in the waiting room for 4 hours, and I had to go back and get a scan done every hour so they could see what's going on. And while we were there, we were stuck with 4 hours of, was it CNN that was on?
Yeah, it was like CNN.
So Jamal was watching the news, and this lady next to him, they were just kind of like going back and forth and commenting on all the stupid shit that was coming on the news. But one of the things that they talked about was Kellyanne Conway. I got her name right this time. When I think about it, I want to call her Laura. But Conway and her husband's recent back and forth with her boss, Donald Trump. And he told her that she should resign.
Yeah.
I think this shit hit the storm because most recently her husband said that Donald Trump's mental condition.
Yeah. Her husband was attacking Donald Trump.
Yeah, his mental capacities were deteriorating or something. Basically, he's getting crazier. Yeah. What are you doing? Are you pulling it up?
Yeah, but I remember it's in Washington Post, so it has to be under incognito.
Darren Levy, what the hell are you talking about? He said, are you guys having a baby? That's not the kind of scan that we were having done.
No. Shit. No, my wife wasn't feeling well. Hold on. It's freezing. Give me 1 second.
I might say, why do we have to talk about Meth Barbie?
Oh, God. She does look, but I'm not going there. I'm not commenting on her,
Trump did not ask her to resign. Her husband asked her to resign because her husband really does not like Trump. And she came out and commented or responded.
She responded because people kept hounding her about it. Like, think of it this way. My boss, let's say my boss is president of the United States. Or let's say your boss is president of the United States. And as your boss is president of the United States, I think your boss is utterly incompetent. Not just incompetent, I think he's a fucking horrible person. And let's say I'm a Democrat. And I am, every night you coming home and like, how the fuck do you work for him? He's like, stop fucking talking to you about Donald Trump. Like, all right, fine, I just know how you work for him. So you'd imagine there would be a tension in the household.
And then you go so far as to tweet my boss.
Yes.
And because my boss is an idiot, you two get back in like this Twitter war.
A Twitter war in front
that
of
people
everybody.
are watching.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that
it's like
his
your
employee's
boss
husband?
is an utter lunatic that has a psychological condition. And then Donald Trump comes back and says, you know, that's a strong wife with a horrible husband or something like that. He attacks him viciously. Like, we're laughing at it because the news was it's
think
drama, so people trip out at it.
I think in that moment your response was, well, that's who pays her.
Yeah, right.
She's not going anywhere.
She's not going nowhere.
But her response was actually really fucking funny.
Let's see.
She said,
I'm trying to see if we can find it.
oh, come on. Where is it? It was awesome.
Well, I mean, what do you mean? This is the story. All right, White House counselor, husband, blah,
right, this is it.
All right, White House counselor Kellyanne Conway said Thursday that her husband, who has been publicly trading insults with President Donald Trump, would like to resign, but she has no intentions of doing so. What message would this send to the feminists everywhere who pretend that we're independent thinkers and men don't make decisions for them? Conway said during the morning appearance. They can talk it, and I can walk it. I can live it. Conway's comments on Fox Business Network came a day after Trump called conservative lawyer George Conway a whack job and a husband from hell who was hurting his family. I love it. Who's hurting his family. George Conway, a persistent critic of Donald Trump, has spent the last several days on social media suggesting that Trump's mental condition is deteriorating and is continued to do so in a series of tweets on Thursday morning. Kellyanne Conway told Fox News host Murray Bartiromo that Trump continues to be supportive of her. Let's see if this is it.
Everyone's got to listen to Mom.
Oh,
when it comes to reducing the sugar in your family's diet, Coke, Dr. Pepper, and
Nope.
What the fuck?
Nope.
Can we go back up? Can I read her comment again about feminism? Because she says, what message would that send, meaning her resigning because her husband has been
what would it say to women?
Having this feud? What message would that send to the feminists everywhere who pretend they are independent thinkers and men don't make decisions for them? Meaning, I am staying on board with fucking Donald Trump.
It's a feminist position to do so.
As a feminist standpoint?
As a feminist standpoint, I stay here.
I stand with feminism and Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. I like it.
Feminism standing for Donald Trump.
I stand with feminism and Donald Trump.
Her point is, look, I'm a feminist. And it is a feminist position not to take what my husband is doing to stop my career.
I understand what she's trying to say. I'm not going to quit my job because my husband wants me to. I'm a fucking woman. I do what the fuck I want. Yeah. Come on, man.
That's hardcore.
Then just say I do what I want. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, for her to go that other, what would that say to feminists everywhere? Come on, man. You work for Donald Trump. Let's be honest. Let's keep it real.
And it's not an issue. And I don't know if it's a feminist thing. Like, I mean, their issue is not so much that your husband is telling you what to do, but more so is you love your husband more than your job, right? Like, that's what it... I mean, look, I guess this is the problem with points of view. Points of view could be scattered. Her perspective in this could be, personally, I think it's more along the lines of Donald Trump pays me, I can lose this asshole tomorrow. Donald Trump pays me. I think it's there, but she could still look at it as, I'm a woman. I do whatever I want. I'm my own person. My husband doesn't. She can look at it that way. But you can also look at it in the sense of, yeah, but, you can get another job. This is your husband, right? Not so much from a man.
I think if that was going to be a legitimate conversation that they had, her and her husband.
Oh, come on, you know they did.
They would have had it, should have had it before she took that fucking job.
But you know but nobody knew how bad Trump was going to be. Like, I don't think anybody,
taking a job for Trump. You knew you were taking a job for Donald Trump.
But do you know how bad that is before he becomes president?
I feel like, yeah.
How?
I feel like
his demeanor is so gross. Like that seems so different.
He's been gross.
From the beginning, yeah.
I mean, like, he's not just newly gross.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like, if you came home, when she came home and said...
that first night.
I'm getting on board with Trump.
And Donald Trump comes in and escalates and said, Mexico's a rapist and drug dealer.
And the husband, who has all this disdain for Donald Trump now, what did he say that night? Did he say, do you, boo? Did he say, get that money, girl? Did he say, what the fuck?
He might have said, what the fuck?
And if that's the case,
but
why has it escalated now? Like, why is he tweeting Donald Trump now?
Who knows? I mean, it could be all sorts of stuff that comes out. Like, for example, the Mueller thing. Like, for all we know, that could have been a precipice of a conversation. Like, there's no way to know what takes place within their household that tips off one conversation of the other way. But what you can think of it is, your wife is doing something that you know that she's her own person. Like, I don't get into your job per se. I know that you're going to represent people that I don't particularly like sometimes. And for the most part, you're your own person. Hands off. Now, he may look at it in the same way that I look at it. And so, but there may be times that the grossness becomes too much. And despite him look at it in that way, he may say, I love my wife. I don't want I don't want the relationship to break up. So I know I need to give her a certain amount of space to do stuff where she is just going to be doing gross stuff.
But something has happened in the last...
that tipped us off.
That changed his standpoint, and he feels like he needs to be publicly vocal against Donald Trump.
This feels like, this feels like a guy...
Do you think Kelly and Donald Trump are having an affair?
No. You know what it's like? It's, do you remember Dead Presidents? And he goes off to war. And when he comes back, his wife is sleeping with the pimp. And it's like the pimp doesn't say anything. And the pimp doesn't even invade his space. The pimp just gives her money sometimes. And because there's a scene, because Donald Trump is the president of the United States. And he's hitting this dude. Or she's at the end of the day going back to Trump, who's her employer. And in this scene of Dead Presidents, he hits dude, knocks him down the steps, and he says, you don't bite the hand that feeds you. And he's telling him this because he's slipping his wife money. Conway is getting money from Trump. I'm not saying there's a relationship there, but at the very least, Conway chose to remain with her pimp. Remain with Donald Trump in this case.
With her pimp.
Just saying.
Freudian slip.
I'm just saying, she is saying, I am staying with the guy who pays me. I'm just saying.
I feel you.
Yeah, I'm saying with the guy who pays me.
I Am Siler says Mrs. Thomas's Trump derangement syndrome is showing. I don't know what that is. Kellyanne Conway's husband, Crozet Isle, says her husband has been jabbing at Trump since he got elected.
Yeah. But, she's probably... Come on. She has to come home and be like, can you please cut that shit out? Like, she has to. I'm thinking anybody that's married know that wife is going to come home and says, I'm my own person. You can't tell me who to get. Meaning, he's not going to divorce her the moment that she gets this job. And he's probably built up a tolerance. But this tolerance is probably, it's like when she comes home, what do you say? Like, because, and by the way, it's possible that she has a good relationship with Trump. Meaning, it is very possible that Trump is protective of her. No. I'm just saying, even if Trump may be protective of her, she may talk to Trump, which makes this even worse. Like, she may go to Trump sometime and be like, God, he's,
It sounds like they're about to have an even better relationship. It sounds like the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
I'm just saying, it just seems like it's very
that
possible.
Would explain it why he is like ranting and raving.
He might be angry, yeah.
Because he's like, Donald Trump is sticking his orange dick in my wife.
I don't think he's fucking his wife.
Oh, sorry.
But as somebody who's had a girlfriend who was friends with somebody who I hated, it grinds your gears. And it's like, how are you friends with that fucking asshole? But in this case, how do you work for that asshole? That asshole pays you. And it's possible that she's talking to Trump sometimes, looking at a text message from her husband like, God damn it. Like, and so she tells Trump, like, look, I'm sorry, sir, that he's being behaved. We'll probably burn him that much more to apologize to that asshole. But that's her boss. She gives deference to her boss, like other people give to her boss.
I think my question is...
It probably burns him, man. As a man, it hurts him.
I don't think that our relationship would have gotten to where it got to, even though you weren't, like, as political when we met. But if I was, like, some rabid Republican, if I could support Donald Trump, you and I feel like fundamentally those have to be two different people. I guess my question is she all in for Trump and her husband is not? How did they get to be so on opposite ends of the political spectrum? How does this, like, I think that there are probably, I know that there have to be some households who...
Yeah, what's his name? The guy who's that really good person. I mean, he was a Clinton operative, and his wife was like a staunch Republican, like no hedge, like a right winger and a full on Democrat. I can't think of his name, but they used to Carville and his wife were that way.
Opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, she was a Republican, he was a Democrat. Like in the established order of things, they were able to make it work. I would imagine the sex is amazing. Now, I say this for this reason. Her husband we're going there. Her husband is probably very angry at her for going and working for Donald Trump. And I would imagine in those moments where he feels he needs to assert his manhood because she is messing around politically with Donald Trump and working with Donald Trump, he takes it out.
You think they're having good sex because in the bedroom he's punishing her?
Yes.
For me.
Yes. I think he's trying to assert his manhood in ways that he can assert his manhood. And in that relationship, all of that probably comes out in that one sparkling 2 seconds.
Or nobody's getting laid because of all the drama that's going on.
Or that too.
And she's like, you sleep on the fucking couch if you tweet him again. Tweet him again!
I don't think she's doing
Somebody's talking about, Jay Scholar's talking about her being a strong woman. That's what she would do if she was a strong woman. She was like, if you tweet my boss one more time, you on the fucking sofa.
Oh,
you
man.
and the dogs can sleep outside on the
Maybe
sofa.
I choose to think of it in better terms. That's what I choose to think the better of their angels. That it gets worked out, and it gets worked out in one moment.
Okay.
It's like, here are the handcuffs. We're gonna work this shit out, or the other way around.
She's a feminist. She's not getting handcuffed. Kellyanne Conway's a fucking
but she's
feminist.
the one with the handcuffs, and she's like,
she is slapping.
You're gonna
Mr.
fucking tweet
Conway.
my boss. Yeah. We're gonna talk about you tweeting my boss. That's fucking hilarious.
Tweeting my boss. It sounds like you said tweeting my balls. I was gonna say, what kind
no,
of
I said
shit
boss.
is that?
I remember there was this I'm not gonna say that. That's inappropriate. It was between us. It was this other person who I was messing around with at the time, and we were doing BDSM stuff. And she had been talking shit about...
Didn't you just say you're not going to go there?
She had been talking shit about Captain Kirk the entire night. I was talking about Star Trek. And she was ragging on Star Trek. And it was like, how dare you rag on Star Trek? We finally got the opportunity to mess around. Tied up. Ball gag. And I was like, let's have a conversation about Captain Kirk now. What's Captain Kirk's middle name? What's Kirk's middle name? You're like, what? And if I'm not mistaken, I had a belt or something. Just like, pop. She's like, oh my God. It's like, what is James Kirk's middle name? The middle name is Tiberius. Fucking around with Star Trek.
This is great.
How dare you?
I'm so glad we had this conversation on.
All right. So, is Kellyanne Conway a feminist for not quitting her job and continuing to work with Donald Trump despite her husband being angry about it? I'm asking you. Yes or no? Yeah or nay?
I'm still kind of thrown because after the last conversation that we just had, and I'm reading the comments. I don't know if she's a fucking feminist. I stand for her, stand for what she wants to do. That's fine. I don't know if things were heating up between my husband and my boss, if I would stay. I guess it depends.
How she's looking at it.
Yeah. I don't think she's making a move because she's such an avid feminist.
No, I don't think that. I mean, I don't think that at all. I guess, but things can be looked at in various lights. And if this is the light that she's looking at it at, or whether she's just using the politics of it to kind of cast that light. Like, to be like...
I think she's like, this is a good opportunity for me to show that I'm a feminist. Or to say that I'm a feminist.
I don't know if I could stay at that job. Yeah, I don't know if I could stay at that job. Would you stay at that job? If I am like, my husband, like, I am raging out at your boss for something, I don't know. He does something. And it becomes public. And it's like, I'm tweeting.
I guess my thing is, to a certain extent, I don't really care what you think.
Oh, wow.
But I would say that because of who we are, what you think on things like this typically are in line with what I think. So how badly could he be behaving and I be okay with it and you're losing your shit that much? Like, I gotta feel like if he was that big of an idiot, then I myself would be like,
this guy's an asshole.
Yeah. Why am I working for this person?
And
with this person? Right, in which case my morals would kind of kick
payment
in.
wouldn't matter. Like, if you were getting
so?
$5 million a year. I'm trying to think of what Omarosa was getting. Like, let's say $5 million a year.
I gotta...
You don't think the money will matter?
You know, I can say that because I'm not making $5 million a year. And the amount of money that I make, I can go somewhere else and make it. You know what I mean? Like, can she leave that $5 million job and go get a job somewhere else making $5 million? I don't know.
The answer is no.
And so, like, so what if somebody came to me today and gave me a job for $5 million? I can't leave that tomorrow and go get another job for $5 million. Probably. In which case, would I put up with more shit?
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? Like, what if somebody came to me today and was like, listen, I'm going to give you a job for $5 million to do some really out there shit. Are you in? I would be like, yes. No, I would want to know.
Just yes. I thought the first question would be, wait a minute, what's the job? What's the job?
I want to know what it is. You know, I got to be honest. Behind closed doors, I might. Is everybody going to know that I got something to do with this? You know what I mean? Like, for $5 million, how crazy are we talking?
Well, she has to be in this, like, she's in
I think that's
so
the
she
thing
has
too.
to always be
like, is my mama going to see me doing this stuff for
also,
$5
keep in
million?
mind, Kellyanne Conway is not supposed to be the story. Like, she's the person who's given the perspective from the president of the United States. It's not for her herself to be the story. She's supposed to be spinning the story or being powered. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the fact that she's the story in this is in and of itself is problematic. My only question was, is it a feminist position to not resign?
Oh, sorry.
To me, the answer is, oh, no, they're fine. To me, the answer is a little bit of yes and no. I mean, it just depends on how you look at it.
I mean, yeah, you can spin it and say that it's a feminist standpoint. Is she doing it because of feminism? Who knows? For some reason, I'm doubtful. I think just because she backs Trump, I don't think she's uber feminist. But what the fuck do I know? I don't know Kellyanne Conway. Kellyanne Conway. You know, maybe. I just thought it was interesting because
I thought it was funny.
She's working for Trump and she's like, what would that say to feminists around the world? What would you working for Trump say to feminists around the world? I mean, let's talk about that.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know. You know, to me, I don't think you need to think in your head, I am being a feminist. And I think if you are thinking in your head, I'm being a feminist, something's wrong. You just are. Like, it's not, you know, does Wonder Woman think to yourself, I am a feminist when I do this? Or Wonder Woman, she's just Wonder Woman. She just is what she is.
No, I don't know about that.
Wonder Woman thinks herself a feminist.
I think Wonder Woman might be like, I gotta be a fucking superhero. I gotta save these people.
She just does. She doesn't have to think that way.
I don't know that I 100% agree with that. I think that you could be a feminist and be like, I have to be a feminist. I have to stand against XYZ. I have to do this. I have to project this. I have to say this.
But if you have to continually tell yourself that.
Maybe not continually, but when you're in media and people are questioning what you're doing, I think it's okay for you to say, yeah, I have to do this. I'm, you know, on top of everything else, I'm a feminist. I don't think that's bananas.
Are you just... You just are. I don't think you have to continuously assert. Like, if you have to continuously... I guess what I'm saying is, there's a difference between I'm doing something because I just am. Superman doesn't tell himself, I'm a hero. Superman just is.
You don't know what Superman say every morning.
I'm just saying, Superman gets up and he's Superman. He doesn't have to continuously say...
going out here every day.
He doesn't do that. That's what I mean.
guess my thing
is...
It's
like when you get up and you do what you do, do you continuously tell yourself, I have to be Aisha? Or are you just Aisha?
Some days I do.
I don't think so.
I guess what I'm saying is, just because she says it doesn't mean she's not a feminist.
Oh, I didn't say that. I'm just saying she doesn't have to. I mean, people just are those things. I don't have to continuously tell myself what I am. You just are. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, people can have all sorts of, pretend for the moment you're taking God's perspective and you're able to just look at something, just, whatever the thing is. You could be 20 different things within the context of being something. You don't have to continuously tell yourself that you're those things.
I understand what you're saying. But if she's confronted with this issue and she has to, and if she is in her heart a feminist,
she has to say, I need to be a feminist.
She's confronting with this issue of what's going on between Trump and her husband, and the media wants to know, what are you going to do? And she's like, I'm a feminist. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm not going to let my husband control me.
Okay. It just feels like Jake saying, I'm deeply progressive. It's like, if you're deeply progressive, you don't have to keep telling people that you're deeply progressive. You just are. Like, there's something to be said about just being. And in the process of you just being, if something else outside of you is observing you, they would say, oh, that person is a hero. That person is a feminist. That person is an asshole.
Darren Levy says, are you Aisha or are you Mrs. Thomas? Which name is more feminist? Dun, dun, I don't know.
No, he's making a good point. Like, this is kind of what I'm getting at. People are what they think they are. But you don't necessarily have to continuously tell yourself that that's what you are. My mom is kind. She doesn't have to say, I'm going to be kind, because she already is. If I am being, brainy about something, and I'm giving I don't have to say, I am going to be brainy in this moment about something. I just am what I am. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
Isn't that what Popeye used to say? I am what I am?
I am what I am. I am what I am. I'm saying that's the same thing with, she's taking a behavior because in her, she vibrates in this way. But she doesn't have to say, I am a feminist. Because otherwise, anything that she do would be a feminist just by virtue of her doing it. It's not something she has to assert. It's something that she is. There's a difference in those things.
Carl M. says, some people need to repeat affirmations to become the person they want to be.
Key point, though, is become. That's the key. That's the key phrase. That's the key word. Become. Become.
Yeah, I feel you.
That's my perspective anyway.
Stuff going on in the chat. Lucio4 says CNN just confirmed Mueller found no evidence of Russian collusion.
Oh, burn! But burn! Where's my mom? Where's my mom? I should call her up right now.
She on the chat.
She's on the chat.
So if you talk some shit about her, she'll hear you. All right, I think that was our last story.
It was our last story.
All right, so while we're wrapping up, just a patron spiel one last time. If you are viewing this, of course, it's live. If you're a patron, don't forget, check out the full video once it is uploaded to Patreon. Why are you so far over there?
It's the chair.
Oh, scooting away. Yeah, so after the live viewing, the show will be available only for patrons. So if you're not a patron, consider becoming a patron. A contribution for as little as $1 a month gets you a patron and access to every weekly patron appreciation show, in addition to some other exclusive content. If you are donating through somewhere else like Streamlabs or PayPal or Super Chat, feel free to send your topic suggestions. If you are a patron, make sure you log in weekly and give us your topic suggestions. That's where the good content from today's show comes from. And that's it. If you're not contributing monetarily, you are still, of course, appreciated. Just being here is awesome. If you did not hear the announcement earlier, Jamarl has officially hit 20,000 subscribers. So thank you to everybody that subscribed. If you're here and you're not subscribed, shame on you.
Yeah, I know, right?
Subscribe. That's great support for the channel as well.
Gringo, $2, a couple of pesos for y'all. Snort, Y2K, have a nice day. What's happening? Snort. And Garnom's absolute right. Referring to herself as a feminist is obviously calculated messaging. Oh, fuck yeah, of course. She's a politician. Like, she's a political figure. Also, keep in mind, when they run again in 2020, everything that's taking place now has to be looked at within the context of 2020. I guarantee you that Donald Trump, Kellyanne Conway, and everybody else associated with his team is looking at 2020. And CNN's coming back giving Donald Trump a clean bill of health from the Russia stuff will be on the campaign trail. I guarantee you, Donald Trump has nothing to do with Russia collusion will be in a campaign message. It all matters. I remember when Jamarl, at less than 10,000, Andrew Church, yes.
I remember that name, too. Andrew Church. Mr. Miles, chief engineer, says, I'm a freeloader, but I do hit the thumbs up button.
Is that what it is, Mr. Miles, chief engineer? You know what that is, right?
No.
Mount Star Trek.
Oh.
I never liked Miles on Star Trek.
I'm a freeloader, but I do hit the thumbs up. That's like he always says, like, share, subscribe. All of these subscriptions are what got him to 20,000. So they are, of course, appreciated.
God, man, it's so funny. Like, those videos with, like, Maddow. I was telling my wife, there are times where I would do a video where I would take hours researching. And like, you're going through one item. And to some degree, you know, I like it. I like learning the stuff. So, you know, but you're researching with a specific aim in mind sometimes to do a show. And it's like, as you're researching, you're like, all right, I have all of these points to make. I have all of these slides and videos that I want to do, et cetera, et cetera. And then the video gets like 500 views. And you're like, fuck, like, that was a really good video. And you're like, technically, you love the video gets like 500. And then you see a video on Maddow, it's like, oh, I'm going to joke Maddow. I'm going to joke Rachel Maddow. And the video goes 18,000 like views within the course of like a few hours. So bizarre. So bizarre. But I'll take it.
Somebody said Fred Edwards said naked chest to celebrate 20K. Who's naked?
Who's doing that? Who's doing
Fred,
that?
is that what you're doing?
Fred, yeah, you can do that, Fred. I'm gonna let you handle that, dude.
We don't need to see, but you can tell us if that's what you do to celebrate
Jamal's. Fred Edwards
20,000. We saw his shirt last week, didn't we?
Did we show it?
See it again. Yeah.
Okay.
If you did not know, you can purchase a shirt from Jamal's store. They have the Progressive Soapbox on them. There's a couple of quotes that he uses frequently on the show. The link to the store should be in the description box, so you can check that out. There's a link to a couple of today's articles that we used as well down in there, so always check that out. But yeah, the information, if you ever want to send something through postal service, like to a post office box, or check out the t-shirts, is always in the description box below. So check that out.
Aaron Matei. So I hit Aaron Matei up and I say, hey, do you think you have time for a 10-minute spot? I just want to bring him over 2 minutes. You can choose time. I'll be available ideally within a day or so. One question, really, the rest of your story, etc. Sure. How about Saturday? Saturday comes. Saturday totally works. What time you want to be ideal? Hey, just let me know what time. Yo, say Saturday morning, I'm still game. I just want to make sure, blah, blah, blah. No impediments. Hey, you did mean this Saturday, right? I mean, because that was today. I promise you I'm going to keep you. I'm trying to nail him down. I'm trying to do it for the show.
This is painful.
Let's do this after the findings are released by Barr, which should be tomorrow. That's today. Looking for you, Aaron Matei.
Darren Alevi says, once I make more money, I'll buy a t-shirt. I'm a poor 21-year-old.
I'm sorry, Darren.
Just hit the like button.
Just hit the like button. Part of the reason that we're trying to, Sanders in office. We want to very least push the politics to the left.
Darren Levy says earlier he said he was in London.
Oh.
Or in Europe.
Germany.
Say he was in Europe. All right, I'm gone.
We're ready. All right, guys. I want to. I love the Progressive Soapbox. He spoke about the original debate to which Jordan and Michael Tracy referred. Yes. That's awesome. Yeah, guys, I really do appreciate you guys coming to the show. We do this every week at 1 p.m. for as long as Mrs. Thomas decides. Yes, 1 p.m. give or take 30 minutes. We did relatively okay. I mean, we put up a thing to let people know that it would be at 1:30. And we got in with you coming in at the last Now, we were having technical difficulties at the very last minute, and then we realized just before we coming on that the light was off, and it was like, get the light. And she was like,
and then he started the video right while I was sitting down, and it was like, great timing, dude.
It's like you're a warp coil explosion, and you're trying to get out the hatch, and at the last minute you get through, but you lose like your ankle, something like that. It's like Star Trek. This is dramatic. All right, I'm going to end this here, guys. Thank you all for coming to the show. You will probably not see me again today, but you will see me tomorrow. So I see you guys then.
I'll be back later by myself if anyone's interested.
On her own channel.
Right here on the Progressive Soapbox.
You do have a channel.
No, I don't.
Have Love Will Travel? That's not it?
Don't spread that around.
That's not your channel?
Don't
Oh, my bad. My bad. All right, guys. Y'all have a good one. And